From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Big 12 basketball reaches the second round of the tournament up in Kansas City. We'll update you on an absolute blowout earlier today at a game that's underway with a team that's a bubble team that is still trying to win to get into the NCAA tournament. I'm David Smoak. Paul Catalina is to my left, Craig Smoak to my right, and that beautiful 365 Sports helmet right there here on the set. By the way, Rez running the mothership. Brandon Rowe is here. Garrett Ross and Andrew Valade are here, and we appreciate you being here also. Now, Iowa State just took the soul of Arizona State, who had the win yesterday against Baylor. Bobby Hurley saying even a minute ago or so that he still had not heard anything from Arizona State about his future. It was 45-16. Iowa State at halftime, they win by 49, the largest blowout in Big 12 basketball tournament history and the worst loss for Arizona State. I just saw this note since 1956.
Yeah, it was an absolute, they just ran roughshod over them. And when you're 45-16 at half, you can really pull off the throttle in the second half. And that's good news for Iowa State, especially down the stretches. They've got to turn around and play tomorrow. But, I could not believe when we were working on some things here, when Amanda sent me a text and said it's 45-16 at halftime at this game. Have you watched any of it? I said, well, no, and now I don't need to because nothing's going to happen in the second half that's going to change anything. Almost the exact same thing happened, except Arizona State scored 10 more points after half. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in the Big 12 tournament. Usually there's not so much of a gap, but wow. And, for Bobby Hurley, I pretty much think that he's gone. I think that Jeff Goodman's reporting usually is pretty solid when it comes to that. Arizona State, may not have told him yet, but I do think that if they're going to try to keep pace in the Big 12, they probably need to make a change because there's just no forward momentum with the program.
Yeah, that was an incredible, I guess, just dominating win here in the first round. And you expected Iowa State to win, but maybe even expected to win comfortably. I don't think anybody, even as down in the dumps as you might have been about Bobby Hurley and ASU basketball, you thought they'd lose by nearly 50 points. Historic beatdown in Kansas City, and to think it could have been worse, Iowa State missed 10 free throws. So if you're looking for a negative out of today's game of like how can we be better after scoring 91 points and beating a team by nearly 50 and moving on and advancing, you missed 10 free throws. You could have scored 100. You could have very well scored 100 points and won by more than 50 and closer to 60. So, that was an ass whooping. No other way to put it. And I think for Iowa State, the beat goes on. I think for the vendors in Kansas City, they're celebrating because that is a fan base that provides them with a lot of their hotels and money and everything else that goes on as far as the atmosphere there in Kansas City because of the proximity and just the passion. So, Iowa State sticking around the tournament is good for the KC folks. And obviously they're one of those teams that's in the mix to go and do some big things, not only in the remainder of this tournament, potentially go and win it, but certainly in March as we get into the big dance. Iowa State's one of those handful of Big 12 teams that you think can maybe make some shockwaves as well. And then, for Arizona State, I don't think you were expecting to win this game. You were pleasantly surprised perhaps to win yesterday's game, and I don't think yesterday changed all that much in regards to the bigger picture, and then you turn around and you get beat this badly. I think the writing's on the wall, has been on the wall for a while, that Arizona State's going to have a new basketball coach, and that's even prior to any report yesterday. He's been around a long time. I mean, this isn't a guy who's on year 3 or something like that. He's been around a while. All the signs have been there, and you get beat the way you got beat today, a day after reports about your job status, and I don't think there's anything to really speculate about here. We're just waiting for the official announcement. So who joins Molly Miller and Kenny Dillingham and that kind of young, cool crop of coaches as the men's basketball coach, I think is something we're definitely going to be talking about in the coming weeks.
By the way, the game going on right now, UCF and Cincinnati in the second game, 27-26, a minute 30 left in the first half. In that one, Cincinnati is a team with their resume, even though UCF has a better overall record, that still has a very slim but outside chance if they win and win another game or two of getting involved. One stat from Iowa State. Sometimes stats can lie. You make more shots than the other team, you can still lose. It's weird. Iowa State was 10 of 25 shooting threes, and Arizona State was an absolute awful 1 of 19 shooting threes.
Well, it's a good thing you have a fancy basketball court to distract you from the awful basketball going on. I mean, give you something to look at other than just another brick being built for this house that Arizona State was trying to put together, I guess. I mean, that's pretty atrocious. That's a very fitting way to go out, and then the Hurley era, I think, is just playing really poorly and being 1 of 19 from 3 or whatever. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think this was the swan song, and definitely not the way you wanted to end things if you're the Sun Devils, but it is what it is. So, great win for Iowa State. Not unexpected by any stretch, but you still got to go and win those games because you just never know. So the beat rolls on in Kansas City, and Iowa State gets to hang around one of their favorite places, and look forward to seeing the Cincy UCF game. I don't know. I'm not super deep into bracketology and all that. You guys know that. I don't like to mention it every time, but I don't want to pretend to the audience who's tuning in that I'm some basketball guy.
That's what I'm saying. Cincinnati is in a better spot with an 18-14 record than UCF is.
But I was wondering,
with a 20-10 record.
Does UCF have a chance still?
I think UCF's in. Actually, I think that they'll make it.
Yeah.
I know they were on the bubble, so to speak, as was Cincinnati. So I don't know.
UCF should be in. They should absolutely. If Texas is in, UCF should be in. I think when you and look, UCF has some good quad one wins, so. I think that they should be in. Now with Cincinnati, they've got to be playing on Saturday, in my opinion, for them to get in. I think that the bad news is you're probably not going to make it in unless you are playing on Saturday, and I don't think they would necessarily need to win on Saturday to do that. But the good news for the program is that their coach has likely saved his job and kind of gotten out of the woods there.
Yeah, because he was maybe longer than a month ago when he was telling the fans they had a right to be upset with how they played, and then they went on that nice run. They also won a couple of games as well that they needed to win. When you look at it, UCF, Joe Lunardi has them in. He has Cincinnati needing to win, but they're kind of right there in the bubble. And here's the difference. Cincinnati is 2-6 against AP Top 25. UCF is 3-3. They have a better record and more AP Top 25 wins too. And then, of course, you get the net and the quads and all of that. So good for Johnny Dawkins and UCF.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of I've kind of developed a soft spot for UCF, actually. Not like I wouldn't say like a secondary team that I root for, but I want them to do well. I want all the teams to do well to varying degrees. But, I mean, UCF is a program that I think – them making the tournament and having the kind of run they're having is a big deal. I think it's a great thing for that program. I think it's a great thing for just their life at the stage of where they are right now in the Big 12, to have that turning a corner and being a positive in a league where basketball is such a big deal. We'll see on the football side, still waiting on that to come along, but I think, this Johnny Dawkins run has been just what the doctor ordered. And then for Cincinnati and Wes Miller, I mean, his job's safe. I think that was clear as of last week that he was probably going to be okay. But, there's certainly questions that will continue to linger around him, especially if they fall short. So, good to know that UCF's fully in. Like I said, I'm not, all up to date on the bracketology and everything. So to hear that they're pretty much a shoo-in, that's awesome. And then for Cincy, definitely playing with the odds this week, I guess.
Well, the 9-9. There's 4 teams, and West Virginia is one of them that is not going to get in. But then you have Cincinnati and UCF trying to make sure they put themselves in. Joe Lunardi, his last any kind of bracketology, we updates that not just every day, but during the day. Last 4 in, UCF, VCU, that's Virginia Commonwealth, SMU, and Indiana. And last 4 buys, Missouri, Santa Clara, Texas, and North Carolina State, whose record's a little bit like what, but they're the mid-majors they played are all ranked, not all of them, but they have 3 really good mid-major wins. We've talked about that, and that's going to help NC State.
I just think a 20-10 team in the Big 12, especially with the top of the league this year, should be in. Like, I don't think it should be that hard, especially given what we talked about, the dearth of, like, really intriguing bubble teams this year. By the way, I'm going to give you guys, if you're ever in Tempe, Arizona, Arizona State Sports Bar Trivia, do you know who hit the only 3 today?
For Arizona State?
For Arizona State.
Oh, no. I no.
So anybody watching
Reggie Jackson III.
No. It was Andrea Grabovich hit the only 3 today. So there's your bar trivia. When the guy goes, all right, Arizona State fans, in the Big 12 tournament in 2026, they lost to Iowa State. They made 1-3 out of 19. Who did that?
It?
Andrea Grabovich.
All right, 27-26, Cincinnati leads at halftime in that game with UCF. In the second game, by the way, Iowa State now and Texas Tech will play tomorrow. The winner of the game between Cincinnati and UCF will move on to the next day, and guess who they get? Well, they, I think, will get, where are you? Arizona. They'll get Arizona tomorrow. And, of course, games tonight, West Virginia, BYU at 6 on ESPN2, ESPNU, TCU at Oklahoma State.
Well, I'm glad we're going to start getting into the meat of this tournament and who you really want to see as far as the best games go. Mm-hmm. So starting tomorrow with, Iowa State and Texas Tech, that ought to be a hell of a game. They played not that long ago. Texas Tech won that game. So they've met once before. Iowa State looking to exact a little bit of revenge. I don't know what the Tech turnout is up there, but we've already established Iowa State's going to have a great turnout in KC and keep that place humming along. But Tech travels really well, and they've got a really good basketball team despite the Toppin injury. So, that'll be a really good game tomorrow, and look forward to that one.
So BYU will be next up. And speaking of them, they have this guy named A.J. DeBansa. He's a freshman, and he went off. Not like he hasn't done this before. 40 points for DeBansa. Broke the record for most points in a Big 12 tournament game by a freshman. Broke the record of the great Kevin Durant and Andrew Wiggins, who played at KU. Second most points in tournament history. First player to ever have 35 points and 5 assists in a tournament game. He had 40, breaking Kevin Durant's record. Also, a note that I saw, he now has the most 35-point games as a freshman. DeBansa was 6. Michael Beasley had 5. I just went blank. Young had 5, and then Kevin Durant from UT had 4. That's the Big 12, 35, as a freshman, 35 points in a game.
Yeah, A.J. DeBansa's fantastic. Going to be, one of the top picks in the draft. So, bummer we don't get to see him in the Big 12 again next year, but –
Whoops, sorry about that.
Sorry. I thought that was just in my brain. But, that was – Kansas State played really well early on in that game and was leading, but you kind of just knew that BYU had more horses, and DeBansa was fantastic the whole time. So –
good for BYU to kind of climb out of this funk that they've been in with the stretch run kind of not going as anticipated. Richie Saunders' injury throwing a wrench into things, but DeBansa's still been fantastic. Keita, and they still got a really good team and good players. They're just not at 100% strength a la Texas Tech right now. But that was what you paid for. That was what you signed up for. That's what you hoped for if you're a BYU fan, was performances like that. And you've got a lot of great performances from DeBansa this year. And selfishly, you'd like to see him stick around and watch him longer, but you got a full year, and you're going to see him in March and see him through the rest of this tournament and what follows in the big dance. And I think he'll continue to put on a show. Will it be enough to keep advancing them night in and night out? We'll see, but that's going to be part of the fun is just watching him in what is going to be his final few games in that BYU uniform. And even though it's only a year, I think he's lived up to every bit of hype and every bit of expectations you had. He may not have earned every single accolade. There was the big to-do about Jaden Bradley winning Big 12 Player of the Year versus DeBansa. I don't know if y'all saw DeBansa doing an interview with Chancellor Johnson, and he clearly wanted to win that award, but he was very respectable about the fact that he didn't, and that, yeah, he scores points, but maybe Bradley was pushed across the finish line by his all-around game, and so he conceded that, you know, there's things he could have done better as opposed to being a poor sport about it. So I think he's clearly, even when you saw his first interviews, he's clearly just one of those dudes who was born to be a pro athlete and, like, is totally grown up at 19 years old and has already, like, got a pro mindset and is just – he's built for that, and I think it's proven out that he was more than ready for the college challenge, and I think he'll show that he was going to be more than ready for the NBA challenge. But, yeah, let's enjoy him while we can, and last night was a hell of a performance, an all-timer. I mean, those names you listed, Kevin Durant and Trae Young and all these guys, like that's royalty. Even though those guys aren't – yeah, Michael Beasley's a Big 12 legend. So, yeah, he belongs in those types of talents – atmosphere, and look forward to seeing what he does the rest of the tournament. On the flip side for K-State, like this has been just a weird year, a really weird year, but we've talked about, like, Jerome Tang we don't think is likely to just rejoin Scott Drew in Waco, like, right away at least that's the feel I got from you guys on that. And I would assume for Jerome that maybe he wants to just do something a little bit different. I don't know, we'll see. I know Matthew Driscoll's not having a whole lot of fun right now, being the interim, as was evidenced by many post games, but especially last night's post game. He is ready for this thing to be over with. I think.
And I would tell you, I've known him for a very long time. I love that guy. So if he were to beat Jerome Tang back to Waco, I would not be mad about that. I know Scott Drew wouldn't be mad about it either.
I tell you what, K-State fans would not be mad about that either. No. They do not like Matt Driscoll, and I think it's been a tough spot.
Yeah. Tang. Driscoll's okay.
There's a lot of them that do not like Matt Driscoll. No.
Well, I don't know what he did other than just take over.
He didn't answer questions in the post game after losses the way they wanted him to. He did if you just follow. I mean, I know we all follow enough K-State guys. There's an abundance of them. I've seen a lot of just kind of lashing out at Driscoll not being good enough as well. So, I think maybe he's a guy that could return instead of Tang. But for K-State basketball, the writing's been on the wall for a while now.
Bracket Cat saying, Craig, it's been a hellish year.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man.
There's no doubt. But, like, for Driscoll's part, like, what do you want him to say at the end of a year where you're not going to the tournament? There's nothing he can say that's going to make you feel better because they're all going to be gone.
If he hasn't been answering questions, that's part of the deal.
No, he's been answering questions. He's just not answering the way they want him to.
Well, that's not his job.
But what do you want him to say? Yeah. What's going to make you feel all better in this lost season? There is nothing. Your team doesn't make the postseason, to fire their coach. There's nothing, especially when they fire their coach before the end, there's nothing the interim coach can come out and say that's going to, unless he turns it around and they made the tournament, which they weren't going to do. So this just ended the way that everybody kind of thought that it would for them. So what did you expect from him in these couple of weeks?
The big thing was they didn't like that he defended Jerome as much as he did. And so, I mean, I'm not here to litigate that. I'm just telling you guys what the conversation is. And so I think there was frustrations about the fact that they're not good. They didn't get any better with him. You're hoping that, okay, if we change coaches, maybe it was Jerome Tang, right? And instead it's just like, nope, this is just the product that's out there. And then his defense, I guess, or his attachment, I think probably, even if he said no words, just merely being a Tang guy in this environment, they want you out of there because they want to be free of Jerome Tang. So there's also that. But, I mean, either way, Kansas State's going to they're already – obviously underway with the process of hiring a new basketball coach, and I look forward to seeing who that is.
Bracket Cat is a big K-State fan. We got a lot of you that watch. And by the way, Colin Klein on tomorrow's show, just to let you know, it's not that he's a bad guy. It's just that every single presser he's talking about and talking up Jerome Tang, how great he was. I could see where that could get annoying after maybe the first couple of 2 or 3 games after he took over. Here's Taj Manning. He plays for K-State. There continues to be questions about the court. I saw during introductions the United States flag. It was gorgeous. It was almost weird. It was beautiful, but it was almost like, how do they? And then there's been all concerns about it's a little soft or maybe it's slick. Here is Taj Manning of K-State after the game discussing the Big 12 basketball court in Kansas City.
A little basketball question about tonight. Everyone's been talking about this floor. What was it like playing on the floor? I saw a few slippages.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. be honest. It's slippery. It's the lights and stuff cause Kamari to get a migraine. And,
Really?
Yeah, it's a bad floor. They shouldn't bring it back. If you want my honest opinion.
Fun for the fans, but not for the players, maybe?
I haven't really talked to any fans, so I don't know. I'll probably ask my dad what he thought about it. Yeah, it's just an eyesore. It's constantly changing and stuff. It's flashing different lights and all that. Nobody wants to play on it. We just want the normal hardwood.
I can see if you're sensitive to lights that could create a problem.
If you have migraines, that for sure could bother you.
Those. But I'll tell you this. I also then saw blowback because they were using different graphics during the men's tournament that they didn't use in the women's tournament. And there was a complaint that they didn't use all of that during the week of last week when the women were playing.
Oh, no, they discovered the plan. They discovered that Brett Yormark's plotting against the women. No, I thought he was going to be able to keep that secret. And no, I mean, I think they're probably just working out things as they go along, that the first day you've got that court versus the 7th, 8th day you've got that court, you're probably figuring some new things out that you can do, much like this studio or a car. Like, do you know every bell and whistle the first day of that car, or do you know some more things like by day 6? Like, oh, this is how you do the air conditioning a certain way. I think that's probably what it is, but never underestimate people's desire to be offended by something.
Oh, people love complaining, Craig.
Oh, yeah,
They
no,
love
I know.
Sometimes people just don't like new and may never like
But
new.
I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to like the specific, like the female versus male court, the differences or whatever. I just think that, they've probably had a few days to figure things out. And there's been mixed opinion. Look, there's definitely positives this court. I don't know if we had a chance to get it or not. The Arizona State video, you had the team was running around. They put out a video, the men's basketball team, and it's clearly like their time on the court, and they're just doing everything but playing basketball on it. Like, they literally put a track overlay and we're running track on the basketball court in this video. They put a map over the court, overlay, or I guess not over the court. Like, they put it on the screen of the court, and they were like a global map, and they were going around like, this is where I'm from, and like standing on the spot in wherever that they were from in Europe, and just having like, they were like little kids just loving this big TV that they could stand on and interact with. And so I know that's not basketball being played, but they really enjoyed it, and they were having a load of fun. And then the contrast to that was, like the same time I saw that video, I was seeing that video where there's complaints about actually playing on it. I don't know. I've seen like 20 different guys talk, and I think it's like 12-8 on the opinion of the court. And I've actually got a few here. This is from let's see. This was from KCTV 5, and they're up in Kansas City. Gabe Swartz. It brings up, first of all, a Yormark quote about just innovation and that they've received a lot of positive feedback, and they want all the stakeholders from the players to the coaches to give them feedback, and they will listen to it. But Mo Odom of Arizona State, who was on there probably doing the map thing with the other guys, I think it's good. I like the bright lights. It makes you want to play better because there's so many lights. You don't want to play bad in the bright lights. Pig Johnson of ASU, that floor is incredible. That court's nice. I like it. It wasn't slippery to me. When I landed, it felt like a cushion to me. The floor is softer. When I landed, it's like a pillow. Then you had Pig Johnson also turn around and say, it is hot as hell, because I guess all of that electricity being used to light it up. He said it was really hot. K-State guard David Castillo, it was a little warm. It was warm and a little slick, but it was cool, though. Alan McCuba, Arizona State, it's a little bit slippery when you get sweat on the floor, but other than that, it's just a basketball court. When I subbed in, I had to sit down right next to the scorer's table, and it's kind of warm. I figured it would be with all of the technology. Cameron Carr of Baylor and Rob Wright of BYU, they said that it was slick. Carr said, I wouldn't say it feels the same, like with the grip and everything. It has a little bit of give to it. It feels good to jump on. Doesn't hurt your legs as much, but it's a little bit slippery, honestly. So that's about it, and I'll wrap it up with Rob Wright. The look of it was really cool, but it was slippery, if I'm being honest. I don't know how I feel about it. So there's just a lot of different opinions.
They need to have, like, fake pond water or, like, a lake out there, kind of, or an ocean where it's splashing on the beach. That would be kind of, if it's going to be slippery. Chris Hassel, who covers the Big 12, basketball, worse than the court itself is just how dark and dingy the entire viewing experience has been in Kansas City. It's like you're watching someone play in an unfinished basement. I'll say this, in those tournament arenas, They do darken the around outside of the court a lot more than you might see at a home game at Allen Fieldhouse or even anywhere else. So that I've noticed that too. But it's also been kind of a black and white look or a gray and black and white look, and at times that might contribute to that too.
You could make it look more like hardwood when they're playing on it. To me, I think it's fine. Everyone's going to have differing opinions on it. I'm not shocked that it was slick. I mean, you're playing on a gigantic television. I wouldn't expect it to be like the hardwood. It's going to take some adjustment. And the players are going to be probably a little bit more split on it based on their individual experiences. But it was done without asking them in the first place. So they were going to do it no matter what. And We'll see if they do it again. The players are not really ever asked about these things, nor were the coaches or anybody else. Like somebody came to the Big 12 and said, hey, we can put this court on the ground in Kansas City, and it's really cool. And Brett Yormark went, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've gotten a lot more media attention than they could have bought about just simply the court, even if it's negative in some regards. But there's also been positives. I mean, if you go watch that Arizona State men's basketball video, there's like a bunch of kids just running around on there putting maps on the court. And I'm from here. I'm from Latvia or wherever the hell. And it was fun to watch that. But, yeah, that's one of the storylines, especially as we get into the deeper part of the men's tournament. So I applaud the innovation. I think it's a cool idea. I didn't think about, like, the warm factor. Certainly the slip factor was obvious because of it being glass. But, yeah, then you start doing all that electricity. And, yeah, I bet it does get a little toasty on that court, more so than normal. But I'm all for trying new things. There's some detractors of just anything Yormark does. And people that just don't believe in him or don't trust him. I don't believe just every single thing's a great idea. I feel like I've had to kind of even mention that sometimes of like, just because it's an idea doesn't mean it's a great one. I don't have a problem with this. I think it's worth trying out something new. And if it lands, then great. And if it doesn't, then maybe there's a way it still can. You just got to tweak it. But, it's certainly been a story. That's for sure.
Well, jerseys change, helmet, not there yet, but a lot of things change. Even perhaps where you go to work and they renovate it or whatever, and it does take time. In this particular case, it's getting a lot of attention, and they perhaps will be able to pivot from that. By the way, speaking of like courts, big moment, George Toma, 97-year-old field turf magician, is the guy that always got the NFL Super Bowl turf in shape. But there were times, even as good as he was, he could not get it where it needed to be. A couple of years ago in Glendale, it was too wet. And he blasted the NFL for that. So even in this case, of course, we're talking about a hard, whatever it's called, plexiglass or whatever it is. But it can happen. Sometimes you could overdo it in big games.
I would love to just talk to George Toma about grass for 10 minutes.
I'd sit down with him longer than
that.
Yeah,
I mean, just like give me, like, I bet I can, in that 10 minutes.
Yep. No,
I could learn, like, hey, how do I fix my lawn? You have 10 minutes to tell me. And he'd be like, all right, send me a picture. And then we'd be like, all right, do this. Boom.
It has been forever back. I'm talking like in the 90s when he came through Radio Row. And he was on a pretty short leash, but you could have had the 10 minutes because he was unbelievable 35 years ago talking to him.
Yeah, I kind of see. I mean, he's dealing with like weather and stuff like that, though. Like, I mean, not everything can always be perfect, even though they have it in like the most perfect place to go grass. I think they're in like Northern California, kind of a little bit more inland is what I read a while back. But like I said, there's been no shortage of coverage of it. I mean, if I just Google Big 12 court, there is here's the New York Post less than an hour ago. Now, the headline's not great. Big 12 players not thrilled with slippery glass LED court for conference titles. But Sports Illustrated is not the old Sports Illustrated. I don't think people have caught on to that. No. I think there's a lot of people that still cite Sports Illustrated like it's still this old Sports Illustrated. It is not. It is PE Sports Illustrated. It is college kids working for like 10 cents Sports Illustrated. But there is still
AI Sports Illustrated.
AI Sports Illustrated, and it's been that way if you haven't taken note. And there are some people that I do know that write there. There's certain like Big 12 student writers that I come across from time to time because they actually are the only ones covering certain things. But I just don't think we need to be quoting Sports Illustrated the same way we quoted Sports Illustrated in the 1990s. No. Because that is a totally different magazine and business and ownership group. But, SI's covering it, USA Today. So it's getting attention for better or worse, and we'll see how it plays out over the rest of the weekend. But they got, I think, a lot of eyeballs that'll be watching the deeper we get into this thing when you get matchups like Iowa State and Texas Tech. So there will be a lot of people that will have opinions on it when it all is said and done. And I saw somebody else agree with the idea I had. It's like, put the home court. I know there's not technically a home team.
No, there's not.
But designate or flip it first half, second half. Like, here's ASU's court in the first half, or do half and half. Like, there's a lot of things you could do for those who don't like the design. I've seen that maybe as the bigger complaint, more so than anything, is the design from last year carrying over.
Yeah,
but,
that was the part that it looked like almost the basketball, the look of a basketball. Jared Calhoun, by the way, right now appears to be, doesn't mean it's official, the favorite to take the job at K-State. He's been at Utah State, pretty good record, and he played at Cleveland State, but he also, his alma mater where he got his degree is at Cincinnati.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, you know what? For those people who are mad about last year's court, like, do you know how hard it is to vector out a PDF file that big?
Yeah.
So, you're going to use it more than once.
Yeah,
Just saying.
No, it's I think we've added to the coverage, that's for sure. So, like I said, for better or worse, this is the most a basketball court has been talked about that I can think of in quite a long time. So, you're definitely getting your. I don't know if you're getting your return on investment. You're getting your money's worth to some degree, because I don't know how you calculate like bad press. But you're getting a lot of press, so there's that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about a court at all. So there you go.
And we've probably gave it plenty of time, and we'll see what they do going forward. Now, there was a story yesterday about Utah Valley University, who was leaving the Western Athletic Conference to move into the Big West Conference, and they owed $1 million in an escrow, and they had to pay it. Otherwise, they could not participate in the WAC tournament. And they're pretty good, and they did get that in. That was reported late into the night that Utah Valley was going to actually be held out of the tournament, men's and women's tournament, if they did not get in $1 million escrow on their way out, and they did, and so they are set to play, in fact, immediately. That just kind of a bizarre.
That's weird. Like, why would you not just pay it?
Well, maybe they couldn't.
Well, then
maybe
you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't just be willy-nilly.
Maybe that's why
jumping
they're
around
they
leagues.
Didn't have enough money. They needed money.
You shouldn't just be doing that.
Matt Norlander. Yes, I agree. This is put the graphic up. Rez, by the way, thank you very much, and Brandon Rowe again today. Here is a note from Matt Norlander. This was during the Maryland-Oregon game. Now, this game was at halftime. Maryland was blowing them out. Pat Forty was mentioned, and Dana Altman at Oregon. He's never had a losing season in his entire career. He was miserable after the game. And then Matt Norlander said, a team from Maryland playing one from Oregon in Illinois on a Tuesday to a crowd of hundreds for a league championship that neither fan base has any longstanding affection for nor historical attachment to speak of, insistent lunacy of the college sports industrial complex.
Does he always tweet words like that?
It sounds like he could have been Shakespeare there for a little bit.
Did he run that through AI first to say make this sound as fancy as possible? Does he always talk like that?
It is.
Nah, he's usually pretty straightforward.
It is nuts, though, to think about Maryland and Oregon playing a game in Indianapolis. Were they in Indianapolis? Is that where they are?
Illinois.
Oh, they're in Illinois. Playing in the middle of the country, and you think about, Lord, how many Maryland fans or Oregon fans are going to be able to come to this in the middle of a work week? It's spring break too, but if you're not really all that good, and neither of these teams are at the top of the conference, they're are you going to be like, hey, let's go watch Oregon in the Big 12 tournament this year, or Big 10 tournament? I don't know if they're going to do it. So yeah, it's part of the thing of college realignment and conference expansion, in that you're going to get these matchups in the middle of the day on a Wednesday that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree if it was just a random place in Illinois. It's just Chicago.
Yeah,
it's still Chicago. I think the people would want to go there, but if you're trading off going to Chicago for a Big Ten tournament that you find basically meaningless, especially if you don't have a team that you feel like is going to stay very long or is going to make a real push for something in particular, then, yeah, maybe you save the Chicago plane tickets for where the first round games will actually be instead. And I think there's probably a lot of that going on there, especially for fans from the West Coast. That's a journey for them. So, yeah, wait and spend your money on closer First couple of round games potentially, although I don't know even what the status of some of those teams are that you mentioned. I was talking about bracketology. Like Oregon in the tournament or no? Okay, they're not. Okay. No. But I guess just in general, the point about just the Mad Libs of let's just place random teams in a random place and call it the Big Ten. That is what it feels like. It's like you just plucked just some random team from the West Coast and you inserted them into the Big Ten, and it doesn't sound like it should be real, but that's reality now. Like there's a lot of like, can you believe it? It's like, yeah, I can, because it's been the reality now for like 2 or 3 years. Like this is the current deal. Oregon's in the Big Ten, but yeah, sometimes you still kind of have to pinch yourself and wrap your head around that fact. And I think we're getting there. We're getting closer to that point, but it's still absurd when you think about it. And yeah, I don't know how that was beneficial for anybody, but certainly not for the Big Ten tournament, but it's beneficial for Oregon football and them to get that big paycheck from the Big Ten. So that's why you do these things.
They have played the United Center in Chicago a bunch. They have played Madison Square Garden, so they've also been at Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, Target Center, which is, I think, Indiana, right? And then T-Mobile Arena, which is...
Target Center is Minneapolis.
And then T-Mobile, which is in Kansas City. So, but remember, the Big 12 has their tournament most every year in Kansas City, so they've been in Chicago more than anywhere else, along with Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So that's kind of just when that's in Indianapolis, and that's where they've been, and that's been the center of the conference for a long time. And now with the Pac-12 teams involved, I don't know if they'll move it or not, and not so sure they should.
Well, you know where their media days are, right? They're in Las Vegas this year.
Yeah.
I mean, or last year they were in Las Vegas. So yeah, they're Utah fans. Feel free. Get Big Ten media days in Las Vegas. Go check that out.
The Big 12.
Some of you think that's where you're going anyway, so maybe you're going to get your wish. It's just going to be through a different conference in a couple of years as opposed to through the Big 12. But they've moved around, and part of adding the teams they did was to be able to go to Las Vegas and have it make sense, or to Los Angeles, or to places like that, and you technically have some territory out there. But yeah, Chicago's a nice spot for a tournament. Wouldn't mind going at all if it was there. But yeah, it doesn't sound like Oregon's long for that, and it is not the biggest attraction in that town to have Oregon, Illinois, and Chicago on a random weekday. Yeah, that's probably not going to put a lot of butts in seats.
Bracket, yeah, no, I agree. But it really, it's the way it is, man. 18, 19, 17, 16 teams. There's going to be somebody that is not going to be close to where they host. One other note on that, Calhoun, if that happens, he's a former assistant coach with Huggins. So there's the K-State connection when he was there for a little bit. And so Huggy Bear, Calhoun coached with him when he was at West Virginia. So there's a little bit of a connection there. Let's take a break here. At 4 o'clock today, Matt Brown. At around 4:30 today, conversation with Texas Tech football coach Joey McGuire. We've got a couple of more notes to get to, including a football program that has nearly 20 players trying to kind of go at the college sports committee. We'll have that in the next segment. We'll take the break. This is 365 Sports. At its Petty Clinic, lowt.com, Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. I have discussed and said what he does many, many times. He makes you feel better if you're a man and you get into the late 30s, 40s, and your T-level testosterone starts to drop in your body. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of that. If that is you, sex drive, performance, you're lethargic, your energy's down, your focus, sleeping habits, all of the above or some of it, it could be your testosterone level is starting to drop or has dropped and don't even know it. That's part of the deal. Contact pettycliniclowt.com. Tell them I sent you. Tell them what your deal is, what your symptoms are. They will set you up. For you to give your blood, they get the results. They'll find out your T level, get back in touch with you, and have an option if you need a little oomph at pettycliniclowt.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
The Bearcats Cincinnati leading UCF 35-32 with just over 14 minutes left in that game. Earlier today, again, Arizona State was blitzkrieged by Iowa State, lost by 49, 91-42.
So this one's different. I mean, it's different, close.
What?
The game is close. The game's different.
No, it's actually a competitive game, thank goodness. And I would think maybe the rest of them the rest of the day, maybe the rest of the tournament, unless you just kind of some team is really hot and the other one's not. Like if you're one of 19 shooting threes, you're going to get blown out. So we've seen all sorts of legal maneuvering, lawsuits. I have said that it almost like, okay, there's really not much less other than it's like a rehashing or appeals of whatever's been decided or not. And then there's this one. We've mentioned the College Sports Commission. They're the ones in charge of making sure the NIL deals are kosher, that they fit the rules, and then they will send it back if there's maybe a question or two or not. A group of 18 Nebraska football players retaining counsel and posing the first serious challenge to the CSC's NIL Go Clearinghouse over rejected NIL deals. An arbitration hearing is upcoming. Eligibility and millions of dollars are at stake.
Yeah, so the way I read this, and Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what's happening is this is all done through like Playfly as part of their arrangement with Nebraska, and basically what you're seeing is that the deals are being orchestrated and it's being told to these guys like, you'll make this much money and this is like the deal that you get. But the problem with the clearinghouse is the clearinghouse going, okay, so you're saying that this wide receiver is going to get $750,000, which he wouldn't, because actually you're talking about 18 players for $1 million. So these are clearly not the stars of the team. These are guys going to make a few $1,000, and that's great. I'd take a few thousand more than I have right now for certain. But so you have, let's say, one of these guys is set to make like $100,000. The problem that appears to be present here is that there's no guidance as to what they're being paid for. It's just like the commission's like, all right, they're getting paid $10,000, but for what? And it's a promise of like, well, in the future they're going to do this, that, or the other. But in the meantime, like, you're not doing those things. At least that's how I read it. And so I think what the commission's doing is actually right in that they're not just going, all right, click, green light, go. They're saying, well, wait a second, what's the money for? Like, what are they actually doing for the money? And that's what I think wasn't explained, and that's why there was this issue at hand. At least that's how I read it.
And if that is true, and if that is what CSC is concerned about, and they want more information, I'm fine with that. I don't care what program is involved here.
But then I think on the other side, Nebraska's saying, well, they're all under the same thing. It's all like there's no reason to like separate it out. They're all under this blanket sort of a deal, so that's why it was submitted that way. But, yeah, I think the CSC is just making sure that there's actually, you do have to film a commercial at some point to get this money. You do have to do an autograph signing. Right now it looks like we're giving 18 guys $1 million, but unexplained as to why. So I think that's the issue at hand. And if somebody wants to further clarify that, I'm trying to make it like as basic as it sounded to me. I can understand why you'd at least put pause on that. I can also understand why you have a massive traffic jam that's developed where there's not just these 18 Nebraska players. There's also every other school in America that's doing things as well. So it's, I mean, just in general, it's clearly the mess that a lot of people expected it to be, the fact that this isn't just a smooth operating machine.
How many of the NIL deals, whether it's with Playfly, Learfield, or whoever else, do something different than what they're trying to do, though? That's my question.
I mean, yes. Look, this is one of those things. You are a very either-or person, Smokey, just by nature. Mm-hmm. And I don't operate that way. I think everything lives in the gray.
No, dude, I'm totally gray.
Yeah,
man.
I think everything lives in the gray. I don't think most things are either one thing or another, especially when it comes to this. Playfly did a blanket deal, probably based on the most broad language they could pull out of the CSC.
Let me add this for you. It's called, it was rejected due to a practice called warehousing.
Yeah.
Which an entity buys a player's NIL rights for all future partnerships and endorsements. And in order to comply with guidance to get the green light, they need commercials, autograph signings listed, and there's no things listed.
I agree that should be the case.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah. But there's also the functionality issue of it that comes in because the CSC doesn't even really know what its rules are. Now, this would be a great opportunity for them to tell the world, here's what needs to be in this contract so that it goes through. And so I don't think Playfly is right here. I don't think that the CSC is also doing their job the correct way. And I also think, and we talked about this yesterday, the absolute naivete that they thought that they built this whole system out of adhering to the House settlement exactly as it came out the first wave, not even thinking like, oh, wait, we might lose this in court right away, so let's have some flexibility here, which is exactly what happened. And they don't have the ability to do these third-party NIL deals because there's too many for them to handle.
UT, A&M, USC, Texas Tech, Wisconsin, among others, all have similar type of deals.
And the problem also goes legally in that if this gets challenged in a certain way in Nebraska state court, the state law can run up against it. And the CSC is going to have a difficult time making arguments as to okay, well, yes, Playfly was wrong in this warehousing thing, but when it comes to it, they're like, well, your thing doesn't work anyway. You're essentially rejecting everything. How do we know that it's not a Rainmaker type deal where you say no to everything and hope people drop it? You know, so that they're going to have to produce a lot of things, and they're going to wind up spending a lot of money to show why this doesn't work, as opposed to taking that money and fixing it. Yeah. So it's.
Do you know how many people work at the CSC?
Like 15, 20 people.
15 employees on staff. And there's 130-something football teams and thousands upon thousands of athletes, and that's just football.
And again, they thought they could do this with AI, And that's what this is. And so they are now in a position where they're like, oh, well, before we rolled this out, we should have crash tested it. And absolutely, because the things that work and work well from the beginning, before they're released to the public, basically the engineers break them. Like, how do we break this?
That's an engineer's whole job, is just to break stuff to figure out how to fix it. Yeah.
How do we break this so we can build it up again? I don't think this was done here. I think it was a very simple kind of a code, basically, in this AI. And then also it can't handle the volume, which means that they need more servers, more of this. The people, like when it rejects something, well, then it's no longer on the AI. So if I'm one guy and I'm supposed to say, look at 200 deals a day, right? Maybe that's my goal. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying that. Well, if it rejects 187 of them, then my hope was that I only had to look at 13 and not 187. The other 187 would go through, and I would take this 13 and go, oh, here's where the error is, here's where the error is, here's where the error is. Well, the ratio's flipped. So now they've got a machine that's just spitting out rejections left and right, and these 15 to 20 people are, they're like the DA in an inner city with like crack cases on their desk where they're just like going through and like, trying to figure that out.
I think that this is important to note, because if Nebraska is successful here and these players win this arbitration, then everybody who's been denied by the CSC can now go, well, wait a second. We're gonna fight back, and we're gonna push back on our similar deals that you rejected already, or the CSC wins this and then Nebraska has to change the way those deals were done. And they weren't a blanket. It wasn't like a one deal for 18 guys. They were all individual, but they're all similar, so they just packed them all together and said, like, this one case represents all these guys because they're all just similar deals. So that's why it's just to explain why it's just these 18 Nebraska football players. It's all similar cases, so they grouped them together. But, yeah, I mean, there's repercussions either way. The CSC wins this and Nebraska goes back to the drawing board, or those guys are ineligible if they decide they're going to try to test it some more, or the CSC's wrong, or eventually get to a point where I think people are going to go, so what's the algorithm, and how did y'all make this, and take us behind the curtain and show us what this looks like, because right now it's kind of a mystery of how you're deciding these things, especially if it's AI. We know it's imperfect. We know it could also be great, but we're going to have to see what you're working with to know if this is on the up and up or not. So, yeah, the CSC is going to probably have to answer some questions. And, yes, the more this goes along, the more it's become very apparent this was never a saving grace. This was another half-assed attempt to try to police this in some form or fashion. But as is typical with all things policing in the NCAA, it was woefully undermanned, woefully short-sighted, and woefully ill-prepared to actually handle the caseloads that they are going to have come in their way and have had come their way.
AI is a tool. This is in the chat room. It's not a magic bullet, and it can't replace human expert judgment, despite what he greedy corporate beliefs to the contrary. Does Paul hate AI?
Does Paul? Okay, go ahead, Paul.
No, I used it today, as a matter of fact. I don't hate it. I don't necessarily trust it. I don't trust the way that it's going, and I don't trust that we're perhaps creating a generation that will not learn to do a lot of things because they can just yell it out to a computer to do it. There's a lot of things I can go into it. I don't hate it, but it's not anywhere near where Silicon Valley would have you believe it is.
Those guys would never lie to the people.
Yeah. So anytime you hear, like, I hear, these, oh, we've got this AI that can do this, this, and this, and this. I'm like, all right, we'll see.
Hey, the guy worth $50 billion is telling us this thing he's got now is really cool, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever. Yeah,
okay.
Of course he is.
And I am of the belief that we either have to learn to work with AI, or eventually we're going to have a Terminator situation where we're working against it. But we also have to, regulate, make it responsible, and make it work before we roll it out.
I do think there's definite value in it. I think this idea that it's just going to replace everything and just nothing's going to skip a beat is total nonsense. I do think there's a lot of things it can replace. But when it comes to actually having to, answer things and figure out things, like can you automate doing the putting the tomato cans together for the tomato sauce? Yes, AI is great at doing that, but do I think you're going to be able to launch nukes? Is that a good idea? No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's like anything else. There's good things and bad things with it. I think there's some great things, like at a basic, simple level of like, well, this just makes your life a little bit easier. Like, tell me the best way to pack my bag or something like that for this trip, or how many clothes, like this simple kind of stuff. But there are a lot of times where you get into just a simple question about like how many guys' jerseys have been retired by this school, and it doesn't even list the guys who went to that school. It lists like some other school's guys, or it like misses 2 or 3 guys. So it's not always 100% accurate. So I think there's value, but like anything else, it's not the magic wand.
Okay.
It's not the end-all, be-all.
You've used it to create opens, billboards, things like that. I've never used it, but then again, yes, I am, because it's now like if you go to Google, sometimes that AI is the thing that spits it out. Let me a couple of the notes on the question about do you hate AI? It's okay. I don't trust AI either. I don't doubt this is from Wet Blanket what AI can do and is doing. Also, my entire team uses AI, but it's not an end all.
No, it's not. And like I said before, I'm a person who lives in the gray. So I just want things to be used for what they should be used for. And this is theoretically a good use for it. But before you roll the thing out, you have to absolutely stress test it. And I don't think that's what happened here.
No, I think they put together a program, and clearly it's voiding some things it probably shouldn't, or it's approving things that maybe shouldn't. And is anybody sitting there double checking it, or do they just realize that maybe it needed to be double checked once they get sued for it? Like, yeah, so I think they probably needed a 0 on the end of that 15 employees just for starters, and then the combination of AI, and that would have been a much better start rather than 15 freaking people. To cover not just 100 guys on Georgia's football team, but the 600 Georgia athletes. Oh, yeah, and then every other school in America that's also doing this thing. So like, they were just, again, woefully underprepared and undermanned, and they didn't plan it out well. And that's typical with pretty much everything in college sports.
I agree that. You see highway construction everywhere, right? You see highways being expanded, new lanes, more lanes because of population growth. I've always wondered, and this is literally how I think, when you see construction, whether it's in your city or anywhere, and they're adding another lane, do you ever wonder when they did it the last time, they could have maybe done more than they needed instead of reacting when it's not enough to keep up with the traffic flow?
Yeah, so when I go home to Tyler on a regular basis, was it the main
31?
31. I was thinking 35. That's not right. 35, side 35. But I guess that would apply too, actually. But 31, like, oh man, look, it's no longer single lane. It's now double lane. But you know what you needed? You needed triple lane. So we'll get that in 10 years when we actually need quadruple lane, to your point. So yeah, we'll get the 1, but we actually need the 2. So we'll get the 2 when we actually need the 3, and we'll get the 3 when we need the 4. And so that's kind of, but that's also, I think, again, it's not black and white. It's also our funds that we're using at the time, and let's do the minimum so that when we need to go get more funds, now we need to go get that 3rd lane. Let's go ask for more funds from the government. That's part of the trick as well. It's very intentional.
It's grift.
Yes, it's very much.
There's a lot of grift.
It's not like, oh, oops, we needed 3 lanes. It's like, we're only going to do 2 because in a couple of years we'll ask for the 3rd one, and then we'll get more money for doing that. That's all very much,
that's a job that will never end. Yeah.
But to the point about this whole thing, like the CSC is not the end all be all. Using AI with 15 employees or whatever it is that they're using is not going to be the answer either. I think, though, however, I don't trust the schools in any way, shape, or form to not try to bend the rules. I've been very clear about that. They're their own worst enemy. They are the NCAA, who they complain about all the time. They are the group, as we heard Jamie Pollard talk about, that begs for rules, claims to want rules, and then turns around and finds every way to not follow those rules they say that they want. So, like, this is the stupid dance that we play of, like, everybody says they want something, but then when it comes down to actually amounting to something, nobody wants to be culpable for anything. So it's like they're saying what you want to hear, but then still doing what they've always done and just hoping that we'll continue to go along with that. And that's the problem. That's the bigger problem than the CSC being undermanned or using AI or whatever. It's that the schools just refuse to not stop cheating. And to this Nebraska thing, I don't think this is necessarily not on the up and up, but yeah, if they're just like randomly saying like, here's a few thousand going to this kid and a few thousand going to this kid, hoping that nobody's going to notice, but you notice a pattern of, well, what are they actually doing for the money? Like, that's the part where this is supposed to be traded for something. And if you're going, oh, well, they're going to do a thing 6 months from now, and you're just sort of vague about it, I think that is where, okay, they are catching that they're not just going to pass through every single deal willy-nilly and just accept it. So that's a minor good thing, I guess.
I also think that they don't want to tell the school specifically because they don't want them to just do a blanket thing and be like, yes, he has to do 2 appearances at a Mr. Softy.
Yeah, then once
that's
they
what
figure
we're
out
paying
the
for,
formula,
and then they're just going to be there and it's going to go through. So.
Yeah, what started out is you get on campus, you earn your right to then make money by endorsing or whatever, a company or a brand or something, and that's by no means. It happens. There are some that do that, a lot that do that, but not the way I think it was initially intended. When we come back, Matt Brown on many things when it comes to college athletics and media, and then also Joey McGuire at the bottom of the hour. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. My good friend, Ted Teague, one of the sponsors of our annual Academic All-Stars team that honors senior student athletes in local high schools in about an hour and a half, 90 miles in every direction. They have 2025, the new 2025 Ram 2500 Laramie Crew Cab, $12,875 off that price. $13,000 off the Ram 2500 Rebel. $13,000 off the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and $11,400 off the last Wrangler Sahara. At Alan Samuels, they'll also take care of your sales tax. Also, Alan Samuels, the luxury Ram 2500 Laramie Crew Cabs, hardworking. They have 3,500, 5,500 chassis cabs built for contractors, ranchers, and job sites throughout the state. Take $12,875 off the new 2025 Ram 2500 Laramie Crew Cab and the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, $13,000 off and $11,400 off the last Wrangler Sahara, as I mentioned earlier. They have cars, they have trucks, they have SUVs, they have Jeep, they have Ram, and much more at Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Alan Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues or those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. I said I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
If, in fact, you end up going to Stonewood Dental, make sure you tell them 365 Sports sent you. You will not, by any means, regret it. Update, Cincinnati up 9 over UCF with 7:23 to go in that game. And 51-42 is that score. We are now joined by Matt Brout, Extra Points, who's a great friend of the show, and many times he's joined us on 365 Sports. I initially reached out to Matt because he's great to have on the show. But, Matt, we start with you with Craig and Paul and Smokey. The Miami of Ohio non-conference schedule debate in Cincinnati, or who did this, and we got an answer from Travis Steele. That thing took a pretty good 3 or 4 day run for you, didn't it?
It did. I hadn't thought about Miami, Ohio this much since I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go to college. Growing up in Columbus, that's not typically a program that's peak on my radar, especially not this time of year. But I got to tell you guys, one, I very much appreciated the questions that you asked Travis and get him to talk about that process in more detail. But since running that Miami scheduling story on Extra Points a couple of days ago, I've also had multiple other head coaches at other mid-major programs and at least one conference commissioner reach out and be like, hey, thanks, because I don't think the public understands how difficult it is for us to be able to get any kind of meaningful game. And I have to think that this is a solvable problem in college athletics. I don't know if it's about changing the net system to not penalize quadrant 4 losses the same way. I don't know if it's giving people a bonus for playing mid-majors or what. That is, I think, an arithmetic problem that's above my pay grade. But I think it would benefit not only quality mid-major college basketball, but I think it'd be better for fans too, if we could find a way to make this work. Because nobody likes going to 9 home games in November or December where the spread's going to be 36 points every single time because you're all playing a YMCA team.
Yeah, Matt, and part of this is, you mentioned incentivizing the schools to play mid-majors a little bit more. There are some coaches that don't. I mean, they'll play all the best ones they want. The Ken Pom score to be high no matter what. And then there's some like Miami, Ohio, who obviously wasn't quite as good last year as they are now. When they were trying to schedule last year, I can see where some schools be like, I don't know how much benefit there is to this one way or the other. But yeah, how do you give them a bonus? How do you incentivize that for them in a non-K? It's not like you can give them cash to do that because they got to pay Miami, Ohio to come and play there at their place.
They do, and I think the other tricky wrinkle about this is that I think us, maybe more folks that are more college football fans, and I would put myself in that group, and maybe that's some folks who are listening to the show. But if you're in that group, I think it's easy to kind of underestimate how much roster transition and attrition happens in college basketball. A big year in the transfer portal for college football means a quarter of your roster's turned over. But for basketball, that could be 80 or 90% of your roster. Sometimes your literal entire team, especially if you're a good mid-major team and you're thinking, all right, we were 110 in Ken Pom this year. We were, made the NIT. We had a great run. But then after the season ends, if 3 of your guys transfer to go to a P4 program, one guy leaves to go get playing time somewhere else, and other people graduate. Next thing you know, what looked like a potentially promising squad on paper now looks very, very different. And that's one of the difficulties here that I don't think I've gotten a good answer about yet, because the scheduling conversations for next basketball season are already happening. They've been happening for a month. A lot of teams would prefer to kind of get handshake deals and figure out who they're going to play next year before the end of the Final Four. But we don't really know yet who's going to be good or not, just because we literally don't know who's going to be on what roster until May. And that makes the song and dance a little bit more difficult here. And I'll tell you guys, if I knew the exact answer right now, I would tell it to you, and we could paywall this episode, and we can all make a lot more money.
Absolutely, and you're right, because what we're talking about with mid-majors or even non-conference games in basketball, Matt, are like the bye games in college football, the non-conference games with teams that they play the first 2 or 3, 4 weeks of the season. Correct?
Yeah, and it's the financial incentives for the whoever you're playing in week 2 in college football, or the SEC SoCon Saturday week 11 kind of game, and your early season college basketball schedules, same economic principle. One of the things that makes football more difficult is that football schedules, for God knows what reason, are typically set 4, 5, 6, sometimes more years in the future. Right? There's games on the books right now that are scheduled to be played in 2032, 2033. I mean, we're talking about second graders at this point. I have no idea who's going to be good if Toledo is going to be good in 2032. I barely know if Toledo is going to be good next year. Ask me in a month, and I might have a better answer for that. Basketball schedules are never set that far in advance, but you have that same element of confusion and unpredictability that comes with building these schedules. It's hard to build something that is both fair, that fans will be interested in, and that will make compelling television.
Matt, we have some CSC chaos now.
We do.
I mean, some new CSC chaos. Now it's Nebraska and Playfly versus the CSC, and this group of athletes that's considering arbitration against them. We just talked about it. You are probably more digitally savvy than we are, considering that you run a website every single day. But this sounds to me like an AI problem that Deloitte and the CSC got themselves into, and they didn't build out the right instructions for this. And then they didn't really share with the schools either how they should put things in, because they didn't want them to just rubber stamp things like it appears that Nebraska did.
Yeah, as I kind of understand this, it's funny you mentioned the AI component, because as I understand it, the CSC went out of their way to communicate to the public and to the schools that they weren't going to have AI automate any of these things, and it was going to be done by regular people. I don't know if you guys use, Claude or ChatGPT very often in your day-to-day work. It's something that I try not to do very often, because even if you configure things pretty well and stick to just doing math, which is something that LLMs are supposed to be better at, you're gonna have an error rate that for me is unacceptably high. If I wrote a story and 9% of my stats in that story were wrong, people would get upset. And if the CSC does that and you have an error rate of 7, 8, 9%, or way more with AI, you're going to have lawsuits as well. It's like, all right, let's go have people review everything. It's also clear that, this is a startup. I think they have 15 employees right now.
Yeah.
And I want to say they just admitted a day or two ago, hey, when we built our models and our staffing system, we thought that NIL deal flow in the marketplace was going to look like X, Y, or Z. And it's not. And one of the big reasons it's not is because so many of these football and men's basketball related deals are being brokered and structured specifically by the school, in the case of Nebraska, for goods or services that haven't even been haven't even happened yet, right? Like Playfly is trying to warehouse some of these rights. All of this can seem kind of esoteric and academic, right? Like the more interesting question for me isn't about whether you're allowed to structure a deal with Playfly for a marketing campaign that might happen in the future. I think the more interesting thing for me is, can state law preempt anything that the CSC says? And that's a major component in the Nebraska case, because there's a Nebraska state statute that would undermine almost anything that the CSC wants to do. And if we get one of those to go to court and the state wins, I think you pretty much have to throw out this whole system, because the schools say that they want order, they say that they want rules, but then the second something doesn't go their way, they know they can go to their AG or their state reps or their lawmakers and change things locally and prevent anything from being enforced.
Man, that makes too much sense. Just let it all hang, right? Just no rules. That's kind of what we are right now. There are no rules. We had Jamie Pollard on Iowa. Go ahead.
Oh no, I agree with you, right?
Yeah,
It's I would think about it this way, right? If you're driving in maybe an unfamiliar area and you're on the highway and you see the posted speed limit at 70, you might think, all right, I could probably go 75, 77 and I'll be safe. Maybe if the flow of traffic is really moving, maybe you go 80, but you probably don't. You initially would think, I shouldn't go 25 over the speed limit. I'm going to get caught. But once you start driving that road for 3, 4, 6 months, and you realize that nobody ever gets pulled over, and you see people going 100 all of the time, you're probably not going to go 70. And that, to me, is exactly what's happening with the CSC and so many of the enforcement mechanisms and rules about enforcing this salary cap. There's something written down on paper, but there's nobody out there with a radar gun who's able to pull anybody over, especially because even if they did, that ticket wouldn't hold up in court.
I love the way you used the speed limit, because that's what I used yesterday when it came to trying to. I think an agent and a quote from, I forgot, maybe Max Olson, ESPN, about tampering, is that the rules are a suggestion. And to me, speed limit signs are not the rules. They're a suggestion to me as well. That's just the way
They're signs, not cops.
Matt, the presidential meeting last Friday resulted in one of the other things.
Further awareness.
Yeah, further aware, I would guess. But the president at the end basically said, I'll write an executive order and we're going to get sued, which I would think if I was there, I'd be like, well, we've been getting sued. Like, can we not do that? Because you're trying to solve all these problems at once. And I even asked Jamie Pollard yesterday, why are you more for the SCORE Act and the SAFE Act? And he said, I don't really know that much about the SAFE Act. The SCORE Act is not going to get through the Senate in any iteration of the Senate right now. I'm curious as to why they keep pushing that.
I don't know if they have any better ideas. Mm-hmm. Or if they, when I say they here, I'm mostly referring to the lobbyists working on behalf of the power conferences and the NCAA. I don't think they're prepared to compromise or change what they're asking for, especially given the makeup of Congress right now. I would agree with you. I actually thought that there was a potential pathway for something very close to the SCORE Act getting through both chambers maybe 8 months ago. But if anything, I honestly think that the presidential meeting on Friday makes this even harder. Because if you have this gigantic event that's televised on C-SPAN and then has all these sports writers talking about it, so it's going to reach a segment of the population that isn't paying as much attention to politics as sickos like me. And you say, we have this big, beautiful bill that we want that's going to fix college sports, and we need 7 Democrats to support it in the Senate, and then you don't invite any Democrats to this particular meeting, and you bring in a bunch of people who are gonna slam you, and then make it clear that this is President Trump's initiative. Why on earth would any Senate Democrat who's even sympathetic to the president say, yeah, I'll go step out on a limb and get screamed at by my base to go give you a win right now? Especially given that there's literally a war going on. I can't see any way to reach that particular bipartisan consensus over a bill that's deeply unpopular with not just many Democrats, but honestly many House Republicans too, who don't want to give the NCAA this much power. By God, there really is a kind of bipartisan legislation that could get through both of these houses. The problem is it's not going to give the antitrust protection that Charlie Baker, the Power 4 commissioners, and the NCAA at large want. If you wanted that, you need a different Congress. And you don't have that Congress. And, a lot can change. But right now, it looks like you're way less likely to have that than you were a year ago. But shifting and being creative and adapting to the current reality, I would say, are not strong suits of many of our current lawmakers or lobbyists.
We have fan bases in the chat, usually from almost every program or where they're from in America. And one, a West Virginia fan, says that they love your hoodie. S. Michael DeHart, a West Virginia fan, loves your hoodie.
Thanks, friend. This is Home Field Apparel. which makes probably 80% of the stuff that I wear if I'm not going to court or going to go cover anything right now. I know I'm sure it's much nicer where you guys are. Here in beautiful Chicago, it is snowing. And my office is in the basement, so I need a nice snuggly hoodie if I'm going to do any work down here.
Have you ever tried Roback, the hoodies that they make?
You know, I have seen those. I haven't worn any.
Really,
nice.
That looks very similar, very, very comfortable. Matt, the Utah Valley story that popped yesterday evening about whether or not they were going to play in the WAC, was it the WAC conference? I don't even remember them having to do that or whatever, but they got right up against the deadline. Kind of explain that with us.
You know, friends, what I would tell you is I've covered a lot of conference realignment stories in my career. I think this battle is legitimately one of the dumbest. It's the biggest, meanest, most impassioned battle over the smallest stakes, which is weird for me to kind of look on the outside. The crux of the issue is that normally when you leave one league and join another one, you have to pay some sort of penalty or fee to the league that you're leaving, an exit fee, right? Texas did this, Oklahoma did this, lots of mid-major and low-major schools do this all the time. And Utah Valley did not pay that fee, which was $1 million. And they said, we're not paying it because you didn't charge the $1 million fee to a couple other schools that left, including Southern Utah and Utah Tech. You're doing this just to specifically isolate us, and you haven't been on. You changed the bylaws without telling us, and now you've already taken $1 million from us. And I think in a sensible world, that kind of he said, she said, litigation, tit for tat, it happens in a courtroom. You and I don't hear about it. You reach some kind of settlement. And instead, the WAC said, we are going to go nuclear on you. We're going to kick you off television. We're not going to let you participate in anything here. We're going to go to court. Utah goes to court too. They go back and forth. And all the while, the Wolverines are the #1 seed and the best bet for making a run in this tournament. If you're the WAC, the next year, the UAC, fighting this is stupid because if Utah Valley wins the game in March, which I think is entirely possible, that NCAA unit stays in the UAC. Yep. It doesn't go with Utah Valley. So picking a fight with your best team not only is going to make it harder for you to recruit more schools for your league, which they all need to be doing right now because you're going to look petty and petulant and ridiculous, but it literally hurts your school membership. And I'll tell you this, as from what I've been told, this whole thing was being driven by 2 presidents in the UAC who, for interpersonal reasons, were very motivated to go after UVU. I don't care who pays who. That is a legal question that is not of interest to me or my publication. I'm just glad that the Wolverine athletes get to play.
Yeah, and apparently that was taken care of late in the day. So I saw you mention yesterday on Twitter that you were about to teach a class and ask for some advice on the class. What did you get in return?
I pretty often over the course of a winter semester will go and lecture about open records to university classes across the country. It's one of my favorite things I get to do as part of this job. And what helps me and sometimes helps the students that I'm working with, whether they're undergrads or graduate students, is to brainstorm ideas for stories that could potentially have open records components. And if you get in the weeds like I do, sometimes I think you can forget about other possible story ideas or things that you're not paying as much attention to that might benefit from open records. Like now we've seen college basketball scheduling drama is something that falls under that. That isn't a request that I typically file. So I sent out, I don't know, maybe 40 other requests over the past couple of days relating to different video game licensing, regarding alcohol sales in college basketball arenas. I'm actually going to work with a university in Germany who's trying to do some peer-reviewed a paper comparing American college basketball alcohol sales and alcohol sales in like Germany and Austria for their like top 2 divisions for soccer to get an idea for what sort of things during a match impact alcohol sales. Do people drink more if their home team is losing? Do they drink more if the weather is different? How price sensitive are consumers for this sort of thing? I think that's fascinating. And when you work with a university, you have an army of grad students who could do a lot of the math for you. And I don't know very much about Germany and Austria, so I think this sounds pretty exciting. And this is data we'll be working with here over the next couple of weeks.
Will you get to go?
I probably won't. I'll ask. If we have some leftover money, I think that'd be great. My wife speaks German. It would be fun to go. I'm saving my international travel budget for the beginning of this college football season because, fellas, we don't know what's going to happen or not, but allegedly there's supposed to be a college football game in Brazil, and to begin the season, and I got to go to that. So we got to save my nickels and dimes for that flight before going to Austria.
How much is a flight to Brazil?
If I plan ahead, I could get a round trip flight for $800.
Okay,
but fellas, I can't plan ahead.
Yeah,
no. I don't know what I'm going to do for dinner tomorrow, let alone what I'm going to be doing in August.
Good for you.
How much to Temple of Doom it, where you just get on a cargo plane with chickens?
I think if anybody here runs a cargo company and wants to sponsor me, I would be happy to do that in the interest of science. I will ride in the DHL box.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, buddy. Thank you very much, Matt Brown.
Of course. Thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate you.
And Extra Points, many things, sports business and media, and a lot of legal and, like you said, Freedom of Information Act requests too. When we come back, we'll update the Big 12 basketball. No, we're not, because Joey McGuire's coming up next. I'll give it to now. Cincinnati leads UCF by 4 with 1:43 left in the game. Down 1:43 to go, Cincinnati 58-54.
Well, I may have to steal an ESPN Plus password from one of you guys to watch the end of this thing.
I'll go put it on the TV.
Okay, yeah, even better. That's one thing I would like to see the end of that. And 58-54, not the most electric scoring type of game that we've seen, but it is coming down to the wire. And as we outlined earlier, this is important for both teams, especially Cincinnati, for any hopes to have their season continue on much longer. So
I think Cincinnati needs to get in the tournament just because they have – it's not just one guy. You know, sometimes you get one name like God Shem God that's an awesome name for basketball. Yeah. But Cincinnati's almost entire roster has elite names. Literally the most boring one or two are Tyler McKinley and Jalen Haynes. Jalen Celestine, who was here at Baylor, that's a great name. Jizzle James, Day Thomas, Mustafa Tiam, Baba Miller, who was at FSU.
Sincere Harris.
Yeah, Sincere Harris. Sean Abiev. Like, they've got so many cool names in there.
Don't say them.
Yeah.
If you don't know them, right? I mean, because there's a lot. You're right. Day Thomas.
Yeah.
Among others.
I mean, Wes Miller has created a great name roster that may never be equaled.
Yeah, Baba, Jizzle, and Day. Like, just that allows like just a fun trio.
It's like a band.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a rock band or a hip hop trio or like whatever. Yeah, Baba, Jizzle, and Day. But yeah, there's Bryson Buckingham, like pinky in the air sounding type of a name.
Got a sweater wrapped around his shoulders and neck.
Yeah, but it almost sounds like a Key and Peele sketch, like the one they ripped off from who did the original, the football skit. You know what I'm talking about, where they do the fake names? Like that was a rip off of, or not a, however you would say that. That was inspired by, was it Bob? Comedian Bob something. He did the original.
I think it was Bob. Was it Bob Zaney?
I don't think it was Bob Zaney, but did the original. You know, Bubba Thompson, number 52.
Oh, yeah. And
right guard. Like, he did the whole – so when I saw the Key and Peele sketch, I was like, I've seen that. I've seen that from somewhere. My uncle had that on, like, VHS, and I used to watch it all the time. But it inspired that, and, that sounds like a bunch of fun guys, and certainly Cincinnati's having a little bit of fun right now. We'll see how they close this thing.
In fact, we'll let you get a chance to watch it. But when we come back, I spent a lot of time yesterday with Texas Tech football coach Joey McGuire. From his dog passing away to have they changed how they looked at the portal since it was so successful? Brendan Sorsby, the leader, and more. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
Texas Tech football coach Joey McGuire with me, David Smoak, 365 Sports, and so much going on. So I want to start with the transfer portal, and I've got a lot of different questions. It's great to see you, Coach.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
You had so much success last year, and sometimes you don't want to stop what worked. Yet there are maybe things that you could tweak a little bit differently, or was it just you did so well, you pretty much kept it the way it was?
It was what we try to do in the portal is identify our needs. And man, we're losing David Bailey, who should be number 2 overall if the Jets are smart. So we knew we had to go get another pass rusher that was ready to play, right now. We're just trying to, it's like a combination. We're trying to do both. I mean, we brought in, I want to say 20 portal guys, and we brought in 22 high school guys. And so it's kind of a mix and trying to have a balance of both.
So when you identify a portal player from another school, FBS, FCS, no matter what level, you want someone who can play. And there's players like that everywhere. I was told you look for team captains, that you look for even guys that represented their schools at the various conference media days, so that when they get in the locker room, there's a smooth and like they're mature and all of that. I'm sure everybody would like to do that, but what made you think about that?
Well, one of the biggest things when you're bringing in new people and depending on your roster turnover each year, you're trying to build a culture, and guys that have been team captains, guys that their school sent to media day, says a lot about them. One thing that we try to do, I'll give you an example, like two great examples. One's still with us and one hopefully he's going to sneak into the first round. But Lee Hunter, we played against him, so we knew he was a good football player, but I was able to call Gus Malzahn. I've known Gus for a long time, and he was able to tell me what kind of person Lee Hunter was. So we had that benefit. Mac Brown helped us get Howard Sampson whenever he got in the portal. He played for him at North Carolina. So he actually FaceTimed Howard whenever he was on his visit. So we had that connection. If you don't have connections, you better be able to find some intangible things that are happening to these guys off the field that you feel good that they can walk into your locker room and they're going to be able to buy into what you're trying to do.
Joey, you have a lot of players coming back, even though your name, Texas Tech, will be announced quite a bit during the draft, all 7 rounds and supplemental picks too. But you have both tackles back. You have cornerbacks back, 2 running backs that are basically quasi-starters in different ways, linebackers, even though you lost Jacob, a tight end, among others. Where are your biggest, in your opinion, position battles when you start spring?
Yeah, it's going to be at free safety or field safety, more than likely. Because BJ Jordan, he'll be a 3-year starter for us. And so we're thinking about moving him to the boundary. Unless Malik, young man out of Catalina, Shoemaker, if he becomes that guy, we can leave BJ at the field safety. But there's a battle at safety. We returned 3 starters in the O-line. Our center is going to be 3-year starter. And then the 2 tackles, so there's battle at guards. And then we only have 1 receiver, that played significant time, 1 starter, Coy Aiken, that is coming back. So there's battle at receivers. I think the other spots we feel really good at. I mean, we're always going to compete, and somebody's going to surprise you in the spring. But those are the main ones, that safety position, the guard position, and at receiver.
I mentioned, obviously, the transition into a locker room with other players who have been there that have helped set the culture. Brendan Sorsby, everybody knows him, the Cincinnati quarterback. I've seen a couple of clips from him in what he's talked about. How has he been accepted? I'm sure, obviously, everybody knows what kind of player he is, but how has he been so far and how he's integrated with the program?
Man, he's done a great job. There's the benefits. He's a Texas kid. He's from Lake Dallas.
Yep.
He and Ben Roberts played 7-on-7 together as they were growing up. So there's a connection there. So that's been good. And then the guys that were here 2 years ago, I mean, he lit us up. We ended up winning the game, but he threw for like 440 yards. So he comes in the locker room with, instant credibility with the guys that were in that game. And then, most quarterbacks that are successful, I mean, they have the kind of it factor. He's got it. He also has a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't highly recruited. So it's such a good mix. And I've been really proud of him, the way he's come in. And then the last thing, man, he comes from a phenomenal family. His dad has done a lot for high school athletics. I knew him. I didn't know him as well as Dave Martin did, my director of player development. But Jamie, his dad, has been involved with high school athletics for 30 plus years. And so I think that, Sorsby, he just gets it. He understands, what we're trying to do here. And so I've been really proud the way he's come in.
I know you can't talk about his situation with Cincinnati, but has that been a distraction at all?
No, the thing that with him, he's got great representatives and he's got real people. These are guys that are, he actually, his representative represents guys in the NFL, represents coaches. And so they have a good handle of what's going on. And man, I do the same as him. We let those guys handle it. And he's been focused on being the best version of himself. And, we put helmets and spiders on today. So he's more focused on the playbook than anything else.
I remember you had a commitment from Will Hammond. We covered Midway, as you know, high school football to do their broadcast. They played Hutto. I saw him play. Loved it then. He's a gunslinger. He can all of the things. And yet he now has Sorsby in front of him. It was Baron Morton, but next man up too. You have to be careful. And you guys have had so many things happen to the quarterback position. How is he this spring and what are plans for him?
Well, you can't tell him he's behind Sorsby.
There you go.
I'm telling you, man, it's a great story. We were not planning on going into the portal. This was a deal that, we were expecting Will Hammond to be our guy, and he's doing a great job. We're not going to let anybody get ahead as far as like our timeline because we're going to be really cautious with where he's at. But if you ask our doctors and him. He's ahead of schedule. The thing is, in the world we're living in right now, you invest so much into these rosters that you can't afford a setback. And I'm saying he's ahead, but if there's any setback, right now we're projecting him back week 3. And, you can't go into the season trying to do what we're trying to do and say, well, he may be back week 3. And so that's why we went into the portal. We felt like we needed to get somebody that, could start for us and really help us try to defend the Big 12 championship. It hadn't been done since Oklahoma did it in 2019, 2020, I believe. And so it kind of came down to that and that mindset. I'm really proud of the way Will attacks every single day. And I'm telling you, Smoak, if you ask him, he's like, man, I'm in a battle. And whenever I'm fully back, he's going to find out who Will Hammond is.
I love that. Yeah, he's tough as nails and good for him. And I wish him the best during the rehab, et cetera. So what did you learn about your program after the loss in the playoff game?
Man, that was really, really tough. I remember a couple of days, like we had a team meeting, kind of let everybody kind of digest it. We had a team meeting a couple of days later, and I'm talking to Cole Wisniewski, and I said, hey, have you decided when you're leaving? And he was like, Coach, be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about it. I expected to be playing. That team was not a team that was just feeling like they were lucky to be there. We had a really close group and they believed in each other. And so that was really tough. The things we learned, we're still trying to learn. There's if you win the conference again and get into the playoffs, there's a really good chance you've got a bye, which is not a bye. It's 25 days off. And, only one team has been able to conquer that. And that was the best team in the country. And so we're really constantly trying to dive into, if we get to that point again next year, how can we do a better job? Is it a mock game? Is it how physical we're going to be? It's one of those deals that is really frustrating. If you ask me, the most frustrating thing for me and what I think should be everybody's frustration in college football is not the portal. It's not NIL. It's not rev sharing. It is this ridiculous calendar that we're living under that makes no sense, that we can fix. And what's really cool, you can fix it and not get sued. I mean, it's not something that you can get sued over. So you actually could change college football and the landscape in a very positive way instead of having the most important game you're going to play your entire career possibly, and you got a 25-day wait. And Indiana, Coach Sig's the only guy that's figured it out.
Well, he's figured out a lot. I remember in the day when when there was no playoff, it was a bowl game. Like, for example, if you won the Big 8 back in the day or the Southwest Conference or any of the others, you would have a long wait, but both teams would have to wait to play in the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar, et cetera. And I said, well, wait a minute, there's always been a wait. And then I realized, no, it's been for both teams. So they had the meeting, the presidential roundtable. I text back and forth, and I spoke with Cody Campbell a couple of weeks ago, Joey, and we've had him on the show. I appreciate what he's trying to get done. So what were your thoughts about what came out of it? Not a lot, but what have you learned, do you think, that did come out that was positive?
Well, one, we're talking about it. We've got the right people in the room, and you have guys that are living it, have lived it. You've got some incredible minds in that room. I think the biggest thing we all have to understand is listen to the people that are trying to protect college athletics, not trying to protect their own little world. I think that's where you get in trouble, and I think that's probably where we're at right now. We haven't looked at the big picture. And the one thing I can say from Cody Campbell's end is he's trying to protect college athletics. This has nothing to do with Texas Tech, and in a very humble way, there's very few people in that room that can think the way Cody Campbell thinks. I just think he's an absolutely incredible person. He's very intelligent, and he really does, man. He's got 4 kids, 1 son and 3 daughters, and he wants the best for them, not only the people that are playing right now, but if they do the same thing and are able to play at the collegiate level, that he wants the best for them.
I asked him this the other day. I said, sometimes maybe his message gets confused because, to me, if it just stays the way it is, it favors Texas Tech because of what you guys have been able to do in a short amount of time. And I said, I think sometimes people see that he and Womble and, the Matador Club or whatever and all the money, and they go, well, look what he's doing, though. He's spending Tech is spending all the money. And I I said, I don't know if your message sometimes gets mixed up, because keeping status quo would help you, because you guys are in it for the long haul. You guys have all the support in the world. Should athletes have been more involved, in your opinion, in that meeting, or is that maybe in the future?
Well, so the first thing that should tell you right there, we should be listening to Cody Campbell, because it is right. The world that we're living in right now we're benefiting from it, and we'll continue to benefit from it if this is the world that we're going to live in. So for a person to have to think forward as much as he's thinking, that should tell you that this is the way we should be going. And then, I think the one thing, I do think athletes need involved, but I think the conversation. Marcus,
Texas Tech football coach.
Nobody's talked about this. My guys that were seniors, that their eligibility, now like David Bailey, if we would have played on January 19th, we would have had to find a place for him to live, because his lease was up, because college football is not supposed to be played in the second semester. And guess what? We just moved it back. Now we're going to play on January 25th. So luckily we had things in place to where, our apartment complexes and different stuff like that would help us out. But nobody's talking about that. Like we're saying the portal shouldn't be in January. College football is not supposed to be played on January 25th. So those things, I don't think they're being talked enough and really putting into action things that could fix some of this stuff. And then we live a year in that and see what some of the pains we're having, that, maybe you do have to have the president and different people step in and fix.
Joey, we had Josh Cameron on the show a few weeks back. You know the story. Walk on, Cedar Park, great high school. And then he went to the combine. He got tweaked something, so he couldn't do much. He'll be at Pro Day. But when I asked him about Pro Day, he's the one that told us that Baylor would be hosting their own Pro Day. Texas Tech will be hosting their own Pro Day. We kind of liked the Pro Day in Frisco selfishly because we had all these players around us and we did our show. But I can imagine everybody that has spent all these millions of dollars on all these amazing facilities and what you've done, you would want the scouts on your campus. So how excited are you to show that off coming up with your Pro Day?
Well, first, man, I'm a big fan of Josh Cameron. I was there whenever he was a freshman, and hats off to David Wetzel. I don't think David Wetzel gets enough credit for some of those guys walk-on wise, and David Wetzel was a big part of getting Josh to Baylor. I mean, he was kind of the lead on that, and what a great career. It's a great story, and man, he hurt us a couple years ago. Had a big punt return and had a big catch in the end zone. I'm a big fan of his. I got to see him at the Senior Bowl and give him a hug at Mobile and wishing him the best. But we're excited. Right now we have 3 head coaches, and I think there's 4 GMs, a lot of coordinators that will be on campus. We're having a big steak dinner for them on the 25th, and then we have our Pro Day. So that night of the 25th, we have our Pro Day on the 26th. Man, I think it's going to be really big. We haven't had a quarterback in a while that would go through pro days. So I think it's really good we're having it on campus. I think Barron will feel really comfortable, and that will help him. He had a good combine, but, looking for him to take another step at the pro day. Man, I think it's good. The Frisco was awesome. I thought that was a great idea, and you got exposure from a lot of people. But I think sometimes you can spend more time at your own campus, with these guys. And so we're looking forward to. We'll have every NFL team here represented, and our guys are ready to put on a show.
Joey McGuire, Texas Tech, with me. David Smoak, 365 Sports. With all the change in conference realignment, who is your biggest rival right now?
Man, that's so outside the box, we got a pretty good rival right now with BYU and Arizona State. I think those are two teams that over the last couple of years that we've had great games with. Old school, when you start looking at the Big 12 and then even going back the Southwest Conference, I think our fans really love playing TCU. Kind of a natural rivalry, just kind of the schools are so much alike as OSU. And so we get to play, TCU and OSU this year. And so that's going to be good. We get Arizona State again. It'll be the third year in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So we just continue that. I think that's a big thing. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think they've talked about, really looking at the schedule to see, almost how now that this Big 12, you've got a couple years under your belt, what some of the rivalries are. Some of them are easy. Like BYU, if you go Baylor and TCU or BYU and Utah, K-State and Kansas, some of those are just natural. Arizona State are natural rivalries.
How do you, and this was even back when you were coaching at Cedar Hill in high school, how do you try to mix your roster with skill, playmakers, big dudes on either side of the line, and then also the combination of having Army ants who don't get a lot of credit, but are also the guts of what you do as a football team?
Yeah, those kind of the meat and potato guys. And anytime we've had a really good team, no matter where I've been, you've had great meat and potato guys, whether, it was at Cedar Hill or at Baylor in 2019 and 2021. We had some just really good glue guys. I will tell you this, man, I've never been on a team that has played, whether it's, in the state game, the Big 12 championship, that you're not good up front, and so I think it all starts with the big guys, and that's one thing that we've really tried to do roster wise, whether it's been in high school or whether it's been in the portal, is change our team up front. And, really excited about the O-line and the defensive line that we built here at Texas Tech.
I don't know if everybody who signed with you out of high school is on campus, so I got to be careful here. But I have my website, Smoky.com, and there's a player that's a small school player that had an unbelievable record-breaking career who I know is going to be at Tech. I don't know where he is. If I can I bring him up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we signed him, so you can,
Unbelievable. Savoy and Martin, the corner at Palestine, who I was told he's not going to have a lot of stats, Joey, because nobody ever threw his way.
Yeah.
And it's just all up and down my team. There's a lot of players from the Big Ten, SEC, or whatever, but my goodness, you guys found what I always considered, what Gary Patterson did at TCU, what Art Browse and his staff did at Baylor, and what you guys needed to do when you were there, and they continue the diamonds in the rough in East Texas.
Yeah, those are we had a run in East Texas this year. Kagan Ash, all-time leading rusher in the state of Texas in the history of high school football. Is impressive, his stats, and he'll be here in June. Boss, young man that you're talking about, out of
Palestine High School.
Palestine, yep, he's here. So we have 18 of our 21 signees are already on campus. They were mid-year graduates. And so Boss is doing a great job, looks incredible. We got a young man, Ace Roden, a running back out of New Boston. So that was the one thing Patterson, and Hart did they did it at such a high level as, getting those diamonds in the rough in East Texas and, some of those smaller schools and some of those schools that are harder to get to, recruiting wise. It's always easy to go into the metropolitan areas and recruit. You gotta drive a little bit to get to those guys, and man, really fired up about this freshman class that have come in. They're doing a really good job, and we feel really good. The one thing we feel really good about too is those freshman offensive linemen. I mean, we got some really good offensive linemen in that class.
How is Reagan's fashion design business going?
Well, good. She is started her own line. She resigned from the company that she was working for and is betting on herself. And it's Italian, mermaid in Italian, which I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Serene. And she started shipping out her collection, and she's doing it. She's really fired up. It looks good. She actually was really cool. She doesn't do men's clothing, but the jacket that I wore into the Big 12 championship, she did that jacket for me. And so I was really proud of her, and that was cool to wear.
How many former players' weddings have you ministered? Do you remember or no?
Well, I just did my godson's a couple weeks ago. So that was number 6. Cameron Buckley and his fiance. So Cameron Buckley played for me at Cedar Hill. He was my last class that I coached, 2017 graduating class, went to A&M. He called me, and so I'm doing his wedding next May, and so that'd be number 7. And I enjoy doing them. It's pretty. Sometimes it gets emotional. I hold back some of the tears, but yeah, he'll be number 7. I did one of our strength coaches after the Big 12 championship.
That's awesome. Okay, I hope you don't mind me asking, because you just mentioned about how emotional you get, but I know that the last few days have been incredibly difficult. Dog is man's best friend.
Yeah.
And Charlie, I heard daughter Jennifer had a 16-and-a-half-year-old border collie named Oreo, a black and white border collie that literally was a grandchild and was the love of everybody in the family, and eventually just wore down. And that was from earlier this year. And I was up there to see both Daniel, Jennifer, and my granddaughter, our granddaughter, Gracie Lynn. And I every once in a while would wait for her to walk around the corner. Yeah. And it just kills me. How have you been able to deal with that?
Yeah, it's been really tough. I actually got him in, I'm going the wrong way. I got him back here in the background behind on my desk.
There you go.
It's been really, it's been tough. It's been really tough on Debbie. You can appreciate this. I think whenever, you have kids and you have a dog, and, we had our family dog die, but we still had kids so active. And so you're sad, but, you got to get them to soccer and baseball and all that stuff. With Charlie, it was me, Debbie, and Charlie, and that was Debbie's dog, man. She, like, if she got up off the couch to go in the other room, he went with her, and it's been really tough on her. Really tough. And it was so sudden. It was his birthday. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and we came home, and I gave him a treat. He was jumping around, and everything was great. And then an hour later, we don't know if he got a concussion or he had a little bit of, he was dealing with some cancer stuff. And we don't know that maybe that had gotten to his brain, but man, it happened sudden. And it's been really tough, really tough. I actually flew Reagan home for a week to hang out with Debbie because, she was struggling so much not having Charlie around.
I have 2 more questions. What event in sports have you never attended that you wish you could attend? Other than a national championship game with you on the sideline with your football program?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been to a couple Super Bowls, and those were incredible events. I've seen the Stars win. It wasn't the Stanley Cup like the final, but, I've seen the World Series. I would probably say like a summer or winter Olympics. I think that would be really cool. One of those 2. To be a part of. I think, I would have loved to have been a part of the hockey game and being there with
my gosh,
Canadians, and one of my defensive linemen's Canadian, so we've been giving him a hard time. Kenny Perry's giving him a real hard time, but something like that. I think, anything that you could do country-wise, would be really emotional and be really cool. And then it'd never happen because I don't think I'll ever stop coaching, but I'd love to go to the Masters, And
No, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I've been there. I was very fortunate to go 6 consecutive years, and it is awe-inspiring.
Yeah, I think that would, we've got a lot of donors that go every year, and they always ask me, and I'm like, yeah, we're in the middle of spring ball. I'm not smart enough to move it to be able to go. So.
Yeah, it is immaculate, and what people don't realize is the undulations on the greens and the hills. It's gorgeous. Last thing, I asked you about what you learned from the loss to Oregon. What's the next level? Where can you get? I know the dream and what your mission statement is, but what is next for Texas Tech football?
I think it all starts with being able to go back to back, to be, in the mix again. This is going to be this conference is tough, and people, it's funny. People talk about like schedules and all this. I mean, we open up the season in Big 12 play with a team that won 10 games, in Houston, and Willie Fritz has done a great job, and we have Arizona who won 9 games. We have TCU who won 9 games. Arizona's bringing their quarterback back, and then Arizona State, I mean, he's done a great job, and they won 8 and nearly won 9 games. And so I think it all starts with that. We really focus on what's in front of us, and, right now is being the best version of ourselves. And we've got to figure out what this team is. It's not last year's team, and so we got to figure out our personality and who we're going to be. And then it is important. It's important for this university, and it's important for this conference for a team to take the next step and win in the college football playoffs. And it's kind of like what we said last year, and probably say again this year at some point, why not us? Why not Texas Tech?
Thank you, Joey. You gave me a lot of time as always. We appreciate it. Good luck during spring, and look forward to seeing you pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Joey McGuire, head football coach at Texas Tech on 365 Sports. Thanks to Matt Dowdy setting that up, and thanks to Joey for his time. And again, very lengthy. And we have Colin Klein tomorrow, Jamie Pollard yesterday, and more coaches and ADs coming up in the next few days and shows.
Yeah, I think we're going to put out some poll questions to ask the people who Texas Tech's rival is. That was one of the questions that popped to my mind that I'm glad that you asked. And I don't think there's – like, it used to be easy to say, who's your biggest rival? And now with realignment and everything, it's like, well, hell, who is our biggest rival at this point? I mean, for some schools, it's still pretty simple. But I think for Tech, they are one of those that's kind of like, Arizona State, BYU, the Texas schools, all that stuff. So, yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in there from Joey, and he's always very good about his time, and we definitely appreciate him. So hopefully people enjoyed that.
Final score from Kansas City, UCF 66 and Cincinnati 65. Cincinnati hit a 3 with 1:46 to go in overtime and got within 1, and nobody scored the last, 106 seconds or so. So UCF advances, Cincinnati a loss, and they're right there on that line. And we'll see if this affects them and or not.
Yeah, I think that sadly I don't think they're going to make it. They need some other their destiny is now out of their own hands. They need chaos, like sheer utter chaos to happen around them.
Whoever lost this game, like UCF seems to be in a little bit better favorable position, but whoever lost this game put themselves at least in jeopardy because of the way things are. And then again, you see other conferences who might get 10 or 11. The Big 12, the best conference in America, and it's not even debatable. Sometimes we say that, and but last year the SEC was fantastic. But you wonder if that might Cincinnati nudge them off the line. And then BYU with the win last night, of course, seems like I think the A.J. DeBanza alone is they're going to want stars and logos in that tournament. So that's the final, and there's still 2 games, of course, coming up a little bit later on tonight. There was one other story that I was Bobby Hurley, here we go. He had said he had not been told by anybody at Arizona State, despite the report a few days ago that he was out at Arizona State. They were mauled today early by Iowa State 91-42, and he is, in fact, officially out at Arizona State.
It's not one of the better jobs that's could be. I mean, well, see, it might be one of the better jobs that's open. It's one of the bigger ones that's open, but two in the Big 12 now with Arizona State and Kansas State. But it could be potentially a very, very good job. Arizona State has, like we said, a lot of potential when it comes to athletics and their ability to grow. So I'm curious to see who they hire, probably a mid-major guy coming up, who that's going to be, who has maybe ties to the program, or what their NIL number is going to look like too, because that's going to be a big thing for them moving forward. If you're going to be competitive in the Big 12 Conference, you have to be at least as competitive on the lower end of NIL as the best team that's not spending as much money, right? Whatever that is.
Yeah, you could fade into that. Yeah,
because you can't. They probably can't just go and say, okay, well, Arizona's our biggest rival. Let's go match them dollar for dollar right now. They've got so many years of basketball history that's doing that. But okay, how much is TCU spending? Can we do that? Kind of a thing.
Yeah. I think you're going to have to spend $8 to $10 million in basketball. That seems to be the going rate if you're really going to try it, at least in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think with ASU being in a pretty good position right now, that they'll be an attractive spot for somebody, and somebody who's hopefully ready to be in an ultra competitive league. Obviously, that's part of the main qualifications, and one of the names that's being floated. And look, everybody starts throwing names out. And I tried to find a video to make sure that I'm pronouncing his name right, but Arizona State fans can correct me, or just those who are aware of this guy. But Derek Glasser, ASU alum, UC Santa Barbara assistant currently. He was on the old Sun Devils teams in the 2000s with James Harden. He was on the team from 06 to 2010. School's all-time leader in assists. So yeah, that's one guy that I know was brought up in a couple of the articles that have emerged. So Derek Glasser, and I just thought maybe it's Glazer. I don't know exactly, but Derek Glasser is how you pronounce it out. And so there's a name. There will be other names, but yeah, I think ASU fans all have the same sentiment. There's some that are like, "Hey, Bobby, thanks, but it was time," and there's some that are like, "We're not going to thank you, but it was time." Everybody's on the same page. It was time. It was time for them to make a change.
Randy Bennett, St. Mary's head coach, has been there a long time. He's had great success at St. Mary's. Got 589 wins, 227 losses. They're 27-5. Jared Calhoun, whose name also came up for the game, what could be the lead candidate for Kansas State, is another one. Jace Colburn from Portland State. Eric Olin from New Mexico, and many others. You mentioned the other one. And then I see St. Louis coach Josh Schertz in a lot of the candidates, too.
Yeah, he'll be on every single one of those lists.
It might have been shorter to name the guys who might not be in contention for the job. But that's how it goes at the start of a coaching job. Let's throw a bunch of names that make sense and some that might not out there. But, yeah, I mean, there's a starting point for you ASU fans who are about to dive into the wormholes of college coaching resumes and who would best fit your Sun Devils there. So have fun.
Up next, BYU, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, TCU tonight in Kansas City at 6 and at 8:30. Let's break here and come back with, or do you want to do some of the NFL notes, Rob? What do you want to do?
The WBC.
Oh, no. So yesterday we were discussing the World Baseball Championships in the United States.
Classic, but yes.
Classic, that too, is a classic championship tournament. And Italy beat up the United States.
And you know why?
And they're not automatically advancing U.S.
No. Well, Mark DeRosa thought that they were.
Yes, he made a big mistake.
Makes you maybe wonder, like when he says, "I really want a big league managerial job." It's one of these things that you have to learn. I like Mark DeRosa actually quite a bit as an analyst, and he's done a really good job for the most part. But when I turned on the game last night and Paul Goldschmidt was out there at first and not Bryce Harper, I was like, what's going on here? And, nothing against Goldie, but he's currently no Bryce Harper. And Italy, who has half the Royals roster, it's crazy. Like half of the players are from the Royals on Italy, but they were loaded for bear and locked in.
I thought about both of you when I saw that Italy had won. I didn't know that until I woke up and I was watching some of the screens at the gym, and I was like, Oh, really?
I'm Team USA all the way, but if they're going to lose,
Yeah, you want to lose to your home country.
Yeah.
Italy. Now, Craig, do you have the tiebreakers in front of you?
No, I don't. I just wanted to talk about it, first of all, and just the shock of it. Just talking yesterday about the fun of the WBC, and I came across, like, before the game even started, some of the discourse about Team USA in particular. And I wasn't so much speaking about Team USA. I was speaking more about the Dominicans, the Cubans, the Puerto Ricans, the Japanese, who all seem to be having the time of their absolute lives. And I never really considered that the Americans weren't. And then you had the whole dust-up with Cal Raleigh. And, I don't know. I just took that as, like, you're in the heat of competition. I didn't give it a lot of thought. It wasn't that big of a deal to me. But I can see where it's messy and it's teammates and people get really into that sort of tiff. But then the more I started kind of reading people's responses to that situation or reading about Bryce Harper's Olympics take, I guess Bryce Harper's too focused on the Olympics. That's why he's not doing much in the WBC. Still hasn't won anything team-wise. I mean, it's just only fair to point out, like, no Olympics, no WBC, no World Series championships for him. And he's talking about, let's go to the Olympics. Like, how about you win the WBC first? Like, that's my beef. If you want to go to the Olympics, fine. But win the World Baseball Classic for Team USA and then talk about the Olympics. Not get knocked out in the pool round, which is what you're at risk of having happen later on tonight, and it's completely out of your control. Like, that was shocking. That was definitely shocking. By the time I got home, it was already 5-0 or 6. I forget exactly what the score was, but they were already down a bunch of runs. And I did make the comment in passing yesterday of, like, as much as they have superstars, they're not hitting the ball. Like, they're not scoring runs. And last night, sure enough, like, could not score any runs. The other night against Mexico, had 5 runs in one inning off a couple of home runs. They didn't score again after that. Like, they got all these names, but those names don't really gel all that well as far as offensive output goes. And then, yes, you have Mark DeRosa, the manager, who clearly was unaware of the rules, thought that they had already advanced, and that leads you to believe that he made some maybe personnel decisions that he wouldn't have made if he actually knew what he was talking about. Like Paul Goldschmidt being in the game versus Bryce Harper. Because, you need to win this game. It's not you've already advanced on. But I think he put the lineup on that was we've already advanced the lineup, not realizing, no, you haven't. And now not only have you not advanced, you very well might not, because you have no control over the whole situation. You've got to sit there and watch the game tonight, and we can get into the tiebreakers. But DeRosa, being an MLB analyst, just makes himself look like a big dum-dum. And then you've got the fact that MLB Network took down that audio, that video of him acknowledging, or not acknowledging, but him not being aware of what he was talking about. They took it off. Like, we all know that only makes more people focus on, well, why did you take it down? Like, they're trying to cover for him, like we didn't all see him not know what he was talking about. I thought that made the situation way worse.
Why would you even do that?
Like, why would you cover up? Like, he clearly said
more
it.
Attention to
exactly.
It.
Well, that's exactly what happened. Was it brought way more attention to it and just made the whole situation look even dumber. So they're in a pickle. We'll see tonight with Italy and Mexico down in Houston. Paul, do you happen to know the tiebreakers off chance?
I got it. Team USA moves on if Italy beats Mexico. Italy would win the pool 4-0. Team USA would finish second 3-1, and Mexico would be 2-2. That's the simple thing. If Mexico beats Italy,
which is entirely possible, if not more realistic, yes.
And Mexico scores 5 or more runs in a 9-inning game, all 3 teams finish 3-1. Mexico and Team USA would advance to the tiebreaker. Team USA is out no matter what if Mexico beats Italy and scores 4 or fewer runs in 9 innings.
So they need them to actually blow them out versus
looks like that,
barely beat them?
All 3 teams would finish 3-1 again. And
and they need Italy to win.
Or just need Italy. That'd be the clearest
Italy
way.
beats Mexico, it's done.
If there is a complaint that I've seen about the WBC, even though they go like head-to-head originally, if they can do that, which they can't, I guess, in this situation necessarily, just depends on what happens again tonight. That has been more of one of the confusing parts. Like it seems to be with any sport. Like it's the tiebreakers when you get down into these scenarios you didn't think you'd be dealing with, and then it all gets kind of convoluted and confusing. But yeah, that was embarrassing. And so what I was finishing a thought I think left halfway, but I saw these people talking about, well, Cal Raleigh's taking himself too seriously. And I was like, you know what? I didn't really consider that because I didn't care enough to really drill down into the topic. But then you hear Bryce Harper's talking about the Olympics. And, yeah, Paul Skeens is super patriotic for his couple of starts and all that. But, yeah, man, they're never going to be the Latino countries because they vibe differently. Like their celebrations and their enthusiasm and all of that, they're not going to be exactly like the Dominicans. And that wouldn't be Team USA if they were. But they also can be super uptight, not having any fun, like just we're here, we're America, we're going to win this thing, Team USA. And the more I kind of started thinking, I was like, you know what? That's kind of who they are. Yeah, they're not really looking like they're having that much fun, especially compared to the Latin American countries.
That's what the Ryder Cup situation is like.
Yeah.
The European team, they stay together, they play together, they travel together, they seem to be having a great time. They haven't won every year, but they seem to be enjoying all of it, where the United States guys they've tried, but it just doesn't seem like it's all in with everybody.
I think it's also arrogance. I think it's American entitlement, which is very much a real thing. And I think it's just like, the superiority of like, well, we're America. Of course we're going to be in the next round. Like, we don't have to sweat that. And it's like, oh, but you do. And even though this is America's sport, like, yeah, Japan is awesome. The Dominicans are awesome. Venezuela's great. Like, so on and so forth. Mexico's got a good little team, man. Like, yeah, they just but they don't have the right vibes.
And if you look at the rosters, and I said this yesterday, and I completely believe it. Player for player, no roster is as good as the United States. But that in these situations doesn't really matter much.
Right.
It really doesn't, because when Japan, they could have Ohtani and then none of the other major leaguers, they could all be, from the Japanese league, and they would still be as good as they are. Like, they just would be, because they have pride about this. And so I do think, like with the Ryder Cup, golf is very cliquey, and I think that even in the Ryder Cup, you have this roster of guys. You've got this group of three that's really good friends, this group of three that's really good friends, and then there's an outlier like Patrick Reed that doesn't really have a lot of friends in the whole thing, and he winds up in it, and they can't build this chemistry. And the European team, they're just like, hey, what country's alcohol are we drinking after the match tonight?
The Shane Lowry's, Sergio had bite to him. Seve's the one that developed that edge back when he became really, really good and led the charge when the United States never lost in that event.
And I need to wrap this up so we can go to the polls and everything. But, yeah, I mean, I hope Team USA advances. I think the WBC kind of needs them to advance. It's one of those like, well, we need Ohio State to get all the viewers to the national title. I don't want to be that guy. But I do think for the sake of the venues and the ratings, if you want the World Baseball Classic to be as successful, then, yeah, Team USA bowing out is going to kill a ton of interest in this thing. Now, I think some of the Latino countries, Japan as well, can carry this thing and still get good turnouts. But just when you tilt the venues where you're not in Tokyo and you're not in San Juan, and now you're like, well, you got to show up in, I don't even know where the final, like Houston or wherever. I think you'll still get a good turnout, but nothing compared to if Team USA was also playing the Dominicans or the Japanese or whatever. So I think they got to reevaluate. I think they need to get the stick out of their butt, honestly. And I think that they need to maybe loosen up a little bit. And I know that's hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
But I kind of see where they're coming from.
The roster's fine, but when you have no knowledge of how you get to the next round and you mess that up, and you might start somebody.
Yeah, clearly not as focused as you should be.
By the way, Justin Williams, brutal collapse by Cincinnati. Tournament bubble is officially popped. Now, he's covered Cincinnati. He's with theathletic.com. The Wes Miller watch for the Bearcats could drag on for weeks. So that's from a guy that understands Cincinnati, athletics quite a bit.
Well, who was their big win last week? I just remember having the conversation about how this situation is developing exactly how I said it would suck for it to develop for Cincinnati, where you get a big win to be close enough only to fall short.
They drilled Kansas 2 weeks ago.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of. So they beat Kansas, and it was basically like, well, Wes Miller's safe now. Yeah. And then I was like, well, what if they don't finish strong? And well, here you go. And he was apparently safe, but now maybe not. I don't know.
They drilled Kansas, lost to Tech, but then also hammered BYU by 22.
Yeah, they had a couple big wins.
And then they lost to TCU, then beat UK. Now, one other note. The best question in the chat today goes to Kyle Visser. He goes, is Fernando Valenzuela on the Mexican team?
Well, he's
dead. He's been dead since October. Having fun with you, Kyle, because you're usually right on. But, yeah, he's been gone. That would be hard, although if he was and he was in his prime, they would be even better.
Oh, he would have been awesome back in the day if they had the WBC in the 1980s. That would have been El Toro out on the mound starting for Team Mexico. That would have been pretty badass. But, looking forward to seeing how the WBC shakes out tonight. But let's get to some games and whatnot.
and we will do that. We're going to get to Paul's top 5, and we'll have some NFL news and notes on some of the craziness the last 24 in free agency tomorrow.
We need to do that now then, if you want to get to those.
No, we're going to do that tomorrow.
We're going to do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Off the radar.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Brandon Rowe, would you please come out here for a second real quick? Brandon is leaving us. I don't even know if he finished his rookie year. We appreciate you. I think
Get on camera. Come here. Right?
Did somebody steal?
Oh, is it a little chair?
Yeah, no, I think somebody stole your, I have a gift card for you. Oh, too bad.
It was stolen.
Really, I did. Let me find it. Oh, well. Well, Brent, stand up. My God. I really think I did. But I have a gift card for you that Paul, Craig, and I got yesterday, and just wanted to say good luck with what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
All right, I know you're going to stay in the broadcast business, but we appreciate you in what you've done.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon's the man, and he's going to KWTX across town. Here's the thing. He and Craig will be awake at the same time. Craig will just be going to sleep, and Brandon will just be getting up.
Yeah.
He's been in the morning. So
yeah, admitted night owl, and forever have been, forever will be. So yeah, we'll be on a little bit of a different schedule as Smokey looks for what is the equivalent of a piece of hay in a haystack, given that how many papers he has. He's looking for a piece of paper.
I may have just torn it up and thrown it in the trash. It's a $100 gift card to a great restaurant. I'll get it to you here in just a second. That's awful. That's awful. I'll find it.
You have a problem, sir.
No, I do. It's all this stuff that you guys make me bring to the show every day.
Yeah.
All right, get out of here. And Rez, we can't see Rez. We need to get a camera in the studio producer's room just to kind of make sure he's awake. Rez has been producing today. Great job. Welcome, Rez, to be a part of what we do on 365 Sports. And Paul Catalina's top 5 is now.
This is Paul Catalina's top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. We're doing SEC March storylines today, and let's get right into it with number 5. 10 teams are likely in. Texas would be the 10th. Should there be 10 teams? I'm not completely sure that Texas's resume deserves it, but it's not a great year for bubble teams either. Texas is okay. They're an all right team, but I don't know if they should be a tournament team all the way around. Now, most years, maybe they'd be on the bubble. They're not. They're getting in. I also have questions about Kentucky and Missouri based on everything else, but there needs to be 68 teams. This is also an argument against the many arguments against expanding the tournament field, because you'll get to years like this where, even the SEC, Big 12, the bottom of the conferences are underwhelming this season. Number 4. Can Buckyball create chaos? Texas A&M has been fun to watch under Bucky McMillan this year. Record similar to last year under Buzz Williams, but a much higher finish in the SEC, a much better record in the conference, and a team that is genuinely super fun to watch and difficult to play. They play you 94 feet, pressing all the time. They bomb threes. They dunk the ball. It is fast-paced. It is intense, and it is fun to watch. And I think if A&M gets to the first weekend, they could make some noise because of the style of play. Remember when Bucky McMillan was at Samford, and they made some huge noise as well. That's why he has this job in Aggieland right now. Number 3. How badly does Mark Pope need wins? He needs them a lot because Kentucky underwhelming this year, has lost some really disappointing games, gotten blown out a couple times, and the alums are spending a bunch of money on the Kentucky roster. Make no mistake, this is a high-priced roster that is finishing towards the middle bottom of the SEC of the teams that are getting into the tournament. They are very questionable as to what kind of run they can make. If he can show some progress, get out of the first weekend, then that should turn the heat down on Mark Pope. I don't think he's in trouble this offseason, but Kentucky has done rash things before. This is a university that loves basketball more than it loves itself. Number 2, is anyone but Florida a contender? Is Alabama a contender? Is Tennessee, Vanderbilt, all been good teams this year, but there's a gap between Florida at the top of the league and everybody else right now. So really it's going to take some, not quite Cinderella magic, but, mid-level Power 5 conference team getting hot magic to be a true contender. Alabama's they're all good teams. Alabama's probably the best shot, but I would even say A&M because stylistically they're so hard to prepare for, especially if you get them on just one day, that would be the team I would say could go the furthest past Florida just because of the style of basketball that they play. And number 1, the Florida Gators are red hot. They are absolutely on fire. Are they repeat ready? It certainly looks like they are. Todd Golden and crew have done an amazing job of rebounding from I don't want to say a swoon, but just not looking like the defending national champions. Now, a lot of those guys are gone from that team. There's a good chunk that are back. They have replaced them all very, very well. And maybe the hottest team in the country right now, the Florida Gators. It pains me to say it out loud, as you know me, but Todd Golden and his Gators are amazing and could really wreck shop in March once again. Well, that's going to do it for us on the top 5. It's time to spin that wheel. Have you ever built a Lego set out of the box, and what was it? Bonus, what's the best minifigure in your opinion?
Whoa. It's on crack.
Yeah.
All right.
I cannot participate. I was not a Lego guy.
How dare you?
Yeah, I was an action figures guy.
Well, we had those too.
Yeah,
Craig?
I was not really a Lego guy.
Craig was an action figures guy.
Yeah, I was. I liked Legos, but I can't say that I actually recall building like a full-out set of anything. I don't know that I ever went that far with it. I remember having some, but they weren't like particular, like the Harry Potter set or the NASCAR set or something. So yeah, I don't have an answer for that one because I don't think I've ever actually built one. I've been tempted to. Those things are expensive. The really nice ones. It's like any other hobby, I guess. The deeper into it you get, the more expensive it gets. But there's some cool stuff. Like I see some cool Lego stuff. I get kind of envious, but yeah, I don't have an answer for this one because I never really got that far along with it.
I was at action figures, but the little G.I. Joes, back to little green miniatures, not the bigger type figures. But
those suck. I don't like those because they're stuck in a pose.
You know what? I killed some people with those things.
I'm sure you did, but we all did with those kind of things. But they don't like the best figures to me were the 80s era and like early 90s G.I. Joes. That they were like the best, most flexible figures, and they were absolutely perfect for pro wrestling, for standing in place of Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior or whatever, because you could do like moves with them because they weren't the robotic can barely bend their arm type action figures. They were super flexible. So those are the toys that I played with all the time because you could do any number of things with those.
I built I did Legos. I used to, of course, you lose them like a dime a dozen, but I built a castle. I don't know if that's the question, the answer, but I built a couple of castles, like the really nice castles, open gates and everything.
So I have a nephew named Liam who is 12 or 13, and Amanda's nephew. And he's a big Lego kid, brilliant kid, absolutely brilliant kid. And he will get Legos from his grandparents, and then he'll take them upstairs at the house, and he'll come back down like an hour later and be like, I'm done. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How?
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
I mean, just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And, you go up there and look at it, and you look at the box, and there it goes.
Yeah. The millions of pieces that I loved. I enjoyed them. I did enjoy them.
Yeah, there's some cool sets for sure. Just never a hobby I got deep into, but there's definitely some cool ones out
All right.
there.
So it is now time for the quizzes.
Okay. All right. Need a
quiz.
Okay. On March 10th, 2026, Bam Adebayo shocked the world by scoring 83 points versus the Wizards. Which NBA single-game record did he pass to take the number 2 spot? This is Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, 81 from Kobe.
Yeah, and that was the 81 Kobe night was unbelievable. Bam last night, he was at the free throw line so much. I reading about it, I didn't see it, but like reading about it, I would wonder if they're like, hey, would you guys stop fouling him? Like he's making all the free throws.
It wasn't even that. It was that his team was fouling Washington to stop the game.
36 from three. Yeah, but
it was total. It was. I mean, it's a weird topic because it was very much manufactured. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like a natural 83. It was in some ways like intentional. But then again, like, does that matter? It's still 83 freaking points. It's the second most ever scored. So we're really, is that what we do now? We're going to hate on 83 points scored in a game? So on the one hand, yeah, it's like 40 of the points were free throws. But at the same time, you still scored 43 more points just on baskets. So, yeah. I mean, it's the discourse that we have now where you're always going to have detractors or whatever. So I saw a little bit of everything last night. People that thought it was kind of a faulty 83, which just seems like such a dumb thing to say out loud, like a faulty fake 83. So congratulations to Bam Adebayo. I mean, it's a hell of an accomplishment. If everybody went and did what they did last night, like how many games could we have seen other guys scoring 80-plus points or whatever? Like I wish that now just – go out there and just score as many points as you can. Like, let's let the records fall. But, Wilt's still king for sure.
Let me tell you something. If Shaquille O'Neal –
put the answer slide up there, too.
If Shaquille O'Neal had been in the same situation as Adebayo was, he would have scored 36 free throws. He would have scored 36 less points. Than Adebayo did. Yeah. So you can send him to the free throw lane. He 36. Excuse me. I said it's why he – made 36 out of 43 free throws, so he earned it there.
Yeah, that was 2006 when Kobe hit that 81 points. Bam, known as a defensive anchor, he shattered his previous career high of 41 by living at the stripe, setting an NBA record with 36 made free throws. So that's a hard thing to do. Like I don't care. Like if it's manufactured, they still have to go in.
If it was a bigger name, we probably wouldn't think of it.
No, I think you totally misread the climate of NBA fandom and how much they hate people. How much they hate on everything, and a lot of it's joking, and some of it's not. But like that's also NBA social media is that they're going to poo-poo on whatever and also lift it up, and so you got a little bit of a mix of that. But it was a cool accomplishment. I think the NBA product is in a weird place where they've got so much talent, but I just think the product really overall it's just kind of awful as far as the regular season goes, but that was a highlight for sure and had a lot of people talking.
Yeah, you know what, part of it, and this is historically with sports fans, if you remember during the 1961 home run chase, everybody was mad that Roger Maris and not Mickey Mantle broke it because they didn't feel that they felt Mickey was worthy to break it, but not Maris to breaking Ruth's record. I think that's a lot of there's very few NBA players more beloved than Kobe Bryant. And so I think there's just a lot of people that are mad that Kobe doesn't have that second record now. But, okay. I mean, it doesn't take anything away from it.
All right. Before we get to the next quiz, how many games, the season's starting to wind down before somebody puts up 80. Remember the year that David Thompson scored 70-something, and that same year Gervin scored 70-something? We'll see what happens. Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. They got to go try and actually do it, though. Like, that's who wants to put forth the effort to go to try to top that? Like, I think the effort question is a big question I have watching a lot of NBA nowadays. So, cool accomplishment, and congrats to Bam Adebayo, but you can definitely try to take away from it if you want to. I just don't care enough to, so good for him.
All right. The NCAA tournament began in 1939, but March Madness was not used on the air until 1982. Which legendary broadcaster first coined that phrase?
I think it's Kurt Gowdy, right?
That might be a little bit after him. Brent Musburger was CBS for a long time.
So was Kurt Gowdy, though, wasn't he? Or was he NBC?
He was maybe a combo. I think ABC or NBC. If you want to go with that, it might have been Dickie V because he's like, March Madness, baby, whatever.
Greg,
I don't
do you
know.
have an opinion on this?
I was like negative 20 years old, so no, not quite. But
you were
yeah,
-2.
I was not even born yet. I have this is not something I've come across in the years since where I've picked up this factoid. I have like no recollection of ever reading this factoid, so I have no idea.
I'm going to defer to you because if you miss it, then don't ever let me do it again.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna I'm
Go ahead,
torn
you said
between
Kurt Gowdy. I think
Gowdy and Musburger. I'm gonna say Gowdy.
Damn! I said he worked for CBS.
Yeah,
he
he
did.
did.
That's okay.
And
That's
it's
okay.
and here's the thing.
That was his wheelhouse.
Now that I think of it, it's very Musburger.
Yeah.
It's very Musburger.
He was remember he was a studio guy for a long time. Then he started doing play-by-play, and he was brilliant at it. Both of them. He was great at it. Okay, Brent Musburger actually borrowed it from the Illinois High School Association official Henry V. Porter, first coined March Madness in 1939 essay to describe the local state tournament. NCAA later paid the IHSA over $17 million to settle trademark disputes and secure full rights to the iconic name.
I hope they spent that money well.
You know what?
I hope they gave some of that to Henry V. Porter, considering he made them $17 million.
He's probably pretty dead by that time.
That's
probably.
true. That's true.
Well,
you know,
to the Porter family,
you
at
can
least.
get dinged if you do use March Madness. You can get dinged for using that because it's copyrighted. All right. Now the quizzes. Oh, the polls, excuse me.
Which legend has epitomized March Madness since 2000? Coach K ran away with this.
Yeah, and he should.
Yeah.
Izzo, yeah. Williams, yeah. Self, of course. But no, I said Coach K.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed that Bill Self isn't in second, but, to each their own.
Man, you become such a homer.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
Paul.
it's almost like gross.
One more title since 2000 than Tom Izzo, just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've never thought about this question really. I think in college football, obviously, we're in the Saban era where I don't know who's going to come along and like dethrone Saban as like the end all be all. I've never really thought about it from the basketball perspective. Certainly a more crowded field to contend with, even though Saban would have had guys like, he accomplished so much. But, Urban Meyer at given times or Bobby Bowden or whoever. There's been some great coaches. But, yeah, in basketball, I never really gave it a thought. But Coach K, I'm cool with that. Yeah, if you were to run across casual fans, I feel like of these four fan bases, you're far more likely to run into a Duke fan. It's almost like running into the person who's the Lakers fan of the NBA, also roots for the Yankees, and then is a Patriots fan or whatever the hell. Or this year they're a Seahawks fan. Like, Duke's definitely got like their casual fans, and a lot of that's directly on the shoulders of Coach K. So I can see where he was the kind of runaway answer here.
Well, he won a lot of titles. The other ones were a part of it quite a bit. Izzo sometimes gets credit for winning more than he did.
And he's always great in it.
Yeah.
And I think he has a shot this year. But just saying that.
Which legend? Okay, that was that. Sorry, I'm about to read it again. And the next one. Which Disney World park is your favorite?
Magic Kingdom runs away. Epcot at 27%. My personal favorite is Hollywood Studios, always has been. Although, if I'm going to go and stay at a resort, I do like Animal Kingdom because you can sit out, Smoky, on and have your, juice or coffee or whatever in the morning and read the newspaper. And, a giraffe will just walk right on past you. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
It's where they stayed the last time I went, so.
I've never been to Animal Kingdom. I would really like to go to Animal Kingdom, though. So I've been to the other three. I think I would go Hollywood Studios or Magic Kingdom. I didn't love Epcot, but clearly Epcot's a much bigger favorite than Hollywood Studios. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to remember which was what and which certain rides were there. So this is kind of a...
It also might be dated since the last time you've been there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like now at the Hollywood Studios, they have Star Wars.
Like Epcot was just a little too sciencey for me, a little too looking into the future, technologically.
And they've actually kind of caught up with what the future is now. Because for a long time, you take the ride in the thing, and it was still Walter Cronkite being like, in the future, people talk to each other on video.
Give me Magic Kingdom, because that's never a bad answer. So give me Magic Kingdom. Yeah, I'll go with the majority here.
I don't know when I was a kid if we went to any of those other than Magic Kingdom in Orlando. Tampa, what's the one in Tampa? Busch Gardens, which is fantastic because they also have a couple of breweries in there too. All right, thank you very much, Andrew Valade, for the polls, the quizzes, Paul's top 5. Rez, great job. Your maiden voyage. Brandon Rowe, I found your gift card. It was in the trash can. Swear to God, I put it in there with all the trash.
You trying to find a piece of paper in a stack of the biggest stack of papers that we've ever seen people carry around these days is like trying to find a piece of hay in a stack of hay. Like find the right piece of hay.
And here's the best part. I take like these. I'll start tearing them apart. And I had the card in that stack, but I didn't tear the card. And it's written on the cover. It says to Brandon's wife, because that's who's going to make the decision. Brandon, good luck. Corey Dickman's in the studio today. Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade. Thank you, our sponsors. And, of course, thank you for watching and being a part of what we do. Back tomorrow, Colin Klein and a couple of other really good guests that we'll have. Kevin Flaherty from Kansas City with the tournament. This is 365 Sports. For Craig and Paul, I'm David Smoak. Good night.